Yo, what's up? Welcome to the Kind of Funny Games Cast for Friday, January 10th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing, Adeoye Jr. Joining me is the LaCroix Poppy, Tim fucking Geddes.
Let Tim host. Happy to be here. My first ever Smileys, everyone.
Mr. Stars in the bank, Greg Miller.
That's right. That's right, Tim. Any chance?
Want to rub our velvet together?
Yeah, I do want to rub our velvet together. What if it gets stuck in like Velcro?
We got the master of hype, Snow Like Mike.
Congratulations, Blessing. Leaving the lab and moving to the big set for the Smileys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big upgrade for
Remember
you guys.
last year, Bless, where we saw a lot of comments, even though at the front end we were like, hey, we're in the lab right now because Barrett's prepping Game of the Year and doing rehearsals. And there were so many people just like, they bought that big, they had that big ass set.
They don't
for
wanna
what?
use
They're not
it.
even using it. Motherfucker, listen to the show, please,
Cheap
God.
people.
Please, God. And now we're using
This
it.
year I was able to do tech stuff early for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many of our listeners and viewers that I wish would die.
And that's a category.
That's the vibe, Mike. What's the vibe of the show?
I asked, what's the vibe?
Like, I do
vibe.
like this suit you got on.
Oh, thank you, Bless.
Is it new?
Went above and beyond for you because, of course, I let Tim down just a couple of weeks ago. And so the conversation was, how does
When
Mike
Adam
elevate it?
Sandler showed up to the Game Awards.
So I went to Macy's and I bought a very overpriced suit jacket for you.
Can we do an
'Cause I
over-under
love
game?
you.
Oh,
like
well, it's
this.
Macy's. Macy's isn't bad.
Yeah.
Very
You go.
expensive.
So are we doing prices right?
Well, yeah.
Close
I
to
think
the
we
value
all
going
know,
over?
except for Tim
Oh, sorry.
and you, right?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, it's
Okay.
Macy's. Macy's is a steal. That's where this came from.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Macy's. Mine
That
came
was
from
Amazon.
Macy's. So I'm going to say
Roxanne's not going to be happy with you at Macy's.
140.
see, I was thinking he said it was overpriced, which scares me. So I'll say 199.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm thinking two.
$426.
What the fuck? What the fuck, Mike?
Well, Roxanne said that these are the suit coats, and I said, well, for Blessing, I'll do it.
No, you're not. Okay, first of all, don't put this on me. Don't put this
For
on
Blessing and Andy on the Smileys year
It's
number
like
two.
$75.
Who's
Well,
Roxanne?
I'm sorry.
Macy's.
Macy's was busy, okay? What did you want me to do?
I mean, it looks nice.
Did
It
you say,
doesn't
here's
feel
$200,
nice.
somebody help me?
No wonder he's all bent out of shape today.
He's uptight.
Who's Roxanne?
So uptight.
Roxanne was the lovely old lady who helped me at Macy's.
She robbed you.
Great.
Yeah.
She was a great, she was
don't
helping
like
me
you.
and others. We were talking about, it was a whole lot of
Got
fun.
a
That was the
great
biggest
commission.
upsell of her life.
Got a great commission on that one.
Over there is the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Hello. Happy to be here for the second annual Smiley Awards, Bless.
And of course, we got the lock, Roger McCorney.
Someone said Andy fixer Roger's collar.
Oh,
Someone
no. Probably Roger fixed Andy's collar,
Oh.
maybe. It was sticking out.
Maybe it was
okay.
collar fix Andy Roger.
Oh. Smart.
I've been on since fucking kind of funny day.
And then he just went out. But on the ones and twos, we have Barrett Courtney, who I introduced because, of course, we're all here. We voted on the Kind of Funny Smileys, which is Kind of Funny's category by category awards. Andy, you're the co-founder / I would say the Kind of Funny
CFO.
Smileys is kind of your brainchild here, right? Last year, I think you were the one that came to the group, and I think came to me, and you were like, yo, we should do an award show. We should do more like category style awards.
Yeah,
Do you
because
wanna-
we do game of the year, right? Monday is going to be the big game of the
Big
year, our
game.
top 10. We don't know what it is. We don't know. We all put in our votes. We don't know how it's going to, but there's so much other juice to squeeze out of what 2024 was.
Exactly. And I believe, and Andy, you can explain more of this, right? But I believe the idea was like, all right, cool. We have the top 10 games of the year. We're going to do that. That is the big event. But there are so many things that happen throughout a year in video games, and there's so much to talk about beyond the top 10 games. And so let's find ways to honor a lot of the other things that happen in
Share some
2024.
love.
Let's bring
Yeah.
the positivity, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough year. It's always been a tough year every year. And why not have a way to kind of showcase and give more love to a lot more developers other than Astrobot or other than like the
Yeah,
ones that are
other than
always
Metaphor.
the ones that are always going to win. How can we get everybody's sort of nominations? And there's never just going to be one winner. It's always let's shout out 5 things that the whole Kind of Funny team can kind of vote for, category by category, showing off, letting these smaller devs also kind of get some shine and be like, hey, we really like this. We want to call you all out. 5 awards per category.
5 awards per category, and we're going to get into it. But remember, this is the Kind of Funny Games Cast. Each and every weekday, we get together and talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts to get all of our shows ad-free. Watch us record them live and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. And you know what? Today, Super Chat in with what you think should win the categories. If any of our 5 aren't the same as any of your picks, write in, let us know why you pick what you pick. Of course, housekeeping for you. Thanks to the overwhelming generosity from the community, we have a brand new batch of gifted Patreon sub memberships going up on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Kind of Funny's Patreon page. To be able to see the post, create a Patreon account and click the Join for Free button on patreon.com/kindoffunny. If you'd like to be added to the list, you can send, or if you'd like to add to the list, you can send gifted membership links to support@kindoffunny.com to be included in Saturday's post.
And real talk, this is a great way to get a taste of the Kind of Funny membership. I have a feeling if you are there at that time on patreon.com/kindoffunny and you've made a free account, you're going to get a membership. Like, there are so many memberships that are being given away. So, word to the wise, be there.
Or be square.
Jump on that. Remember, we're an 11-person business, all about live talk shows. The Gauntlet episode of Game Showdown went up this morning. It's the precursor to the new season, which starts next week over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and on the Gamescast podcast feed.
You won't believe who wins the Gauntlet, Tim.
KFGD today was the reveal of the DICE Award nominees. Right now is the Gamescast, and after this is nothing. We're not having a stream today because this episode is going to be a jam-packed episode, so strap in. If you're a Kind of Funny member, you can get today's Gregway, which is... Gregory?
It's me talking about a number of things, all right? The death of Superman Lives. Are we going to PAX East? You can see the wheels turning as I try to remember what the Gregway was. And one other thing, you'll find out. Don't worry about it. Go
wow.
listen.
Don't worry about it. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today we're brought to you by Rocket Money, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start with topic of the show. It's the 2024 Kinda Funny Smileys. So like we mentioned, what are the Smileys? Well, we want to honor a lot of the releases that came out in 2024. I look at this as kind of the appetizer to our Game of the Year top 10, which is coming on Monday. Barrett, is there anything you want to mention about our Game of the Year? Should people be hyped for it?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously it's one of the biggest productions that we do every year. It, you know, like this set here, we take full utilization of the big set. A lot of exciting stuff, a lot of exciting reveals. I've been watching back our last couple of Game of the Years just because I love seeing y'all react to what comes in at number 10 and number 9 and all that stuff. And yeah, so if you want to see the boys live react to what the official Kind of Funny Game of the Year top 10 list is for 2024, definitely check in Monday for that. And then also something special next week, we will be talking about our personal top 10s throughout the rest of the week next week on Gamescast to give even more love to some of the games that were on our personal top 10s that may have not made it to the official Kind of Funny top 10 list. So as we talk about things today in categories and stuff, let's try to hold back like what games were at certain places on our list and all that stuff.
Yeah, so no spoiling Game of the Year, no spoiling your top 10s here.
Paris will be here in studio for Game of the Year next week for both the big episode on Monday and for his own top 10 that he's going to be doing on one of the Gamescasts throughout the week. So people have been asking that. There you know. There you go. It's going to be a Game of the Year week here at Kind of Funny. So strap in
With
for
a special
an entire week.
exception.
Oh yeah. Can't say much yet. We got something very cool, very, very, very cool happening next week.
What?
Yeah. What is it? Yeah.
You know.
Andy really tunes out of the weekly meeting. So
Game of the Year on Monday. Top 10s every day of the week with the exception of Wednesday when we will do the Gamescast at 4 p.m.
Stay tuned. Wink. Wink.
2 winks for you. So this is the appetizer, right? We got 12 categories that we're going to talk about today. Each category has been voted on by everybody sitting at this panel, plus Paris Lilly, who of course you will again see next week during the actual Game of the Year. We have 5 winners for each category based on write-ins. The categories are as follows. We have Best Indie/Independent Game, and I'm putting that as however you want to define it, right? Because of course, everybody wants to define indie their own way. I'm letting you guys define indie however you want. We got Best Style. the game encompassing an outstanding combination of visuals, music, and or fidelity. We have Best Old Game, a non-2024 game that deserves recognition. Could be for a remake, remaster, resurgence, or something we relate to the game on. Best Early Access, the game that had the best showing in early access. Best DLC/expansion, the expansion or downloadable content that you fell in love with this year. Best Innovation, honoring a game mechanic or system that was unique and or pushed things forward. Best Character, a character this year that stood out from the pack. Best Story, the game that displayed outstanding storytelling and writing. Best Surprise, the game that came out of nowhere and or exceeded your expectations. Best Card Game. This is a 2024 specific category because of 2024 was a huge year when it came to card games.
Magic the Gathering coming out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Who would have known?
So this is for the best game based in a card format, whether a mini game or a full-fledged game itself. Best Studio, for the studio that earned MVP status in 2024, and the Player's Choice Award. This is a shout out to a game that might not get love on the Game of the Year list, but you still want to give it flowers. Also, as a reminder, we don't know what's on the Game of the Year list, but this is kind of us thinking ahead and being like, all right, what's kind of low key? What's something that we want to, before we even get there, make sure that it's shouted out, make sure it gets the love that it deserves.
And even more context with that, because I am the only one here on the show who does know what the top 10 is. We did vote for these, I think, before I got any official top 10 list finalization. So, yeah.
Even when we say vote for these, we put in all our nominees, right? Is that how? Or like, and then
Yeah,
what did
well-
you do? You tabulated the ones that had multiple nominees.
That's the thing is like the one. So again, I'm picking 5 for each category. There's about 8, 9 of us somewhere around there. Basically, I went in and I pick and chose. Anything that got more than one vote automatically makes it in.
Okay.
And then from there, I just balance based on vibes, based on like, all right, I know this thing is loved by multiple people, and so this one I'm gonna give more push to, but I'm just gonna make sure to balance and make sure that everybody is represented through all of these categories. And so this is translated through the eyes of Blessing Adeoye Jr. I think a bit of Andy Cortez as well. But this is representative of all of our taste here. Kind of funny.
I love that.
All right,
Don't kiss his ass.
are we ready to hop in with our first category, Best Indie/Independent Game? Barrett, you can reveal the first game. It is Balatro. To give a little context to this one, I believe 3 people wrote in Balatro, making it the highest voted one for this category. And so shout
sense.
out Balatro. Who wants to talk about it?
I didn't write it in because I haven't played it.
I think, Barrett, were you one of the writers for this one?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Who wrote this in?
I wrote this
ghost.
in. I wrote made by one jabroni. So shout out. That's all.
I mean, Balatcho's
Yeah.
a fantastic
Shout out.
game, right? I mean, I think the addiction you've seen from the industry at large, let alone people at large, dominating as it did, when Barrett had inside information to get it into his fantasy critic.
I listened to a public podcast.
You didn't tell us about it.
I know, right?
I
It
did.
doesn't seem
Fucked
very
up.
public.
Sure
It
they
doesn't seem very
fucked
public
up.
when he's like, have you ever
can
heard
get
of
it.
Giant Bomb? I hadn't heard of Giant Bomb. It's out of France, I
It
think.
doesn't matter. I didn't even fucking win last year.
Yeah,
Who gives a
yeah.
shit?
But anyways, coming on to be that strong, and I think we talk all the time about games that come out too early in the year. This would have done better if it came out last. Balatro had consistent love, praise, let alone then the addition of going in and we're going to add in decks for other independent games, which is always a nice look, let alone then to launch on iOS and mobile devices and really dominate the game and see a whole new group of people being like, oh my God, the LA wildfires are going on. And I've seen so many people who are like, oh, I finally downloaded Balatro while I'm at my aunt's house evacuating. This is amazing.
Yeah, I think the versatility of Balatro being available on so many different platforms and including mobile, right? And just how big of a hit it was, how small of a team that actually created it. And like, I think that obviously adds a lot more difficulty to creating the game, but I think it also allows a lot more ability to be nimble and like to do different things, try different things, and like be able to collaborate with others, and you were the one in control of those collaborations. And it reminds me a lot of Vampire Survivors a couple years ago, where it's like that was just such a major hit. And I think a lot of that was being able to like find the trends and find the moments. And like we look at something like Fortnite and the collaborations it does and how impressive that can be. And I feel like anything I say about Fortnite, I can say about Balatro.
Wow.
That's very, very cool, right?
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that they have taken such great advantage of having an amazing game, an amazing product, and speaking to their users, giving them what they want, and continuing to feed them more and more of that. Like, shout out to Balatro.
Yeah, and this is the game that I have been able to one-to-one. Every single person I would be like, hey, here's this game, Balatro, you got to try it out. One-to-one, every single person would download it and become obsessed with it. I know so many people in my life, at least 5 people in my life, that did not hear about the game. Hey, check it out. It's only like $10, something like that. Download it on your phone, download it on Steam, try it out. Oh my gosh, I didn't sleep last night. I've been playing Balatro all night, right? So that's really incredible to just be able to pitch it to somebody and then just fall in love and become obsessed with it like that.
So the folks who wrote this one in were Paris Lily, Snow White Mike, and myself. And yeah, I think the thing I would say to Balatro is the fact that it is such pure gameplay. Like aesthetically, it's a good game. The soundtrack is really cool, and really, it is an earworm, right? The music of the game gets into you. But as far as talking about like Balatro and why I think Balatro is special, it is almost like one of the few perfectly designed video games. Like when I play Balatro, I think of it in the same vein as I think of like a Tetris or even a Solitaire, where I'm like, every computer going forward should come with Balatro pre-installed, right? It is that good of a card game. I think it takes roguelite structure and I think applies that to the standard 52 deck of cards, and I think does maybe some of the best stuff ever done with the 52 deck of cards, right? And that is like, taking in those mechanics of poker, but you don't have to be a poker expert to play this game. It is about taking that idea and creating infinite possibilities in terms of how you can play, how you can strategize, building a build, right? The amount of jokers for people who may not have played Balatro, right, are essentially like the different things that alter your gameplay that you can strategize around, and being able to go, all right, I have 4 slots, 5 slots, 6 slots for different jokers that I can use to play off each other to build the best build as possible. It's so fantastic. It's so good. Barrett, what is our next game for best indie/independent game?
Ooh.
1000X Resist.
So I think this is the one that I voted for.
Correct.
Yeah, I wanted to shout this out specifically, and maybe me writing this in might have been better for best studio, but I think just there's something special about the way this game was developed. If you don't know, 1000X Resist is I'm blanking on the studio name.
Sunset Visitor.
Yes, it is their very first game, and what they did before making games was like they were all like artists. Like a few of them were like theater actors and all this stuff. And then when the pandemic happened, they couldn't go out and perform and all this stuff. So they're all stuck at home, and they're like, well, let's make a video game. And I think just like the way that came together and the way that oozes through this game of like kind of different like forms of art kind of flooding through this game in so many different ways. The way that like cinematography works in this game. There's so many like beautiful shots. There's like at one point a meta commentary on like theater that I think is like really cool. And yeah, I just thought as this being their first game, I thought it was something really, really special. If you don't know, just the quick premise is you play as Watcher, who is a clone who lives in a colony of clones, and they're all cloned after this one girl who is the sole survivor of a world-ending event. And it starts off with you killing the original girl, and then kind of you backtrack from there and kind of learn why your character was led to do that. It has very interesting commentary on the pandemic, on power structures, and how power structures how people can kind of use turmoil to gain power in certain situations that I think is just very reflective of our current times. And I think it's just a very beautifully written game. I think it's like one of the best told stories in video games in the last decade. And I think everybody should try it out.
This got a lot of love in the DICE Award nominations we just did over on Games Daily, in which it was written in on You're Wrong that it's 1000 times resist. That's how the developers have spoken out, saying that's how it's meant to be pronounced.
That sounds so much cooler, though. You know,
X does
Cross.
sound
I
really
mean,
cool.
just make up your mind, everybody. Come on.
Cross.
Maybe write the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is one that I played, I think probably right after Barrett played it and like evangelized it, right? And like for me, 1000 times resist is one of those cases of a game that I play and I'm like, oh, this stands out from the pack. It's one that I think is special and one that I think could possibly move things forward in terms of how people approach writing in video games and approach like, how we can portray different themes, right? I think the fact that this is not necessarily a walking sim, but it is, I would maybe categorize it as more adventure game adjacent as far as like how narrative focused it is. There's gameplay around it, but like the gameplay almost feels like, hey, we just want to complement this story we're telling. And the way they go about that, I think, allows for the stuff that Bear's talking about in terms of what they tackle thematically, right? But I think it's not just about the fact that they're talking about, you know, political structures, they're talking about like pandemic, they're talking about these different things. It's the fact that they're able to do that with like such emotion and such like strong feeling that by the time I finished the game, there was like an anger I felt in my heart, right? And like I think that is something that is so strong, and that's something that I feel like, you know, video games have the ability to do, but I think sometimes rarely get to that point. And 1000X Resist is one of those ones where, Bear, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this studio, I believe this is their first game.
Yes.
And it feels like somebody with new and fresh ideas entered the fray.
Yes.
Right? Like it feels like somebody that's like, oh, I'm not here to make my own God of War. I'm not here to make my own like 2D Metroidvania. Like
I'm
I
here
just
to
wanna
make my vision.
I'm here to make my vision.
We're here to
I have
Super
an
Mario,
idea.
what's that? No idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
it's a special one.
and it's how they tell the story, and you know, there's a lot of jumping through time to see different eras. Like there's some points where you can see the girl that you're cloned after, her perspective of when this world-ending pandemic starts, and the pandemic, the disease that's going throughout the people is when you get sick. You're flooded with all of your saddest memories that you cry until you have no more moisture inside your body. And
Happens all the time.
There.
yeah, and so
Scary movie.
like to see, like you jump to like seeing her perspective, you know, jump to watchers' perspectives. There's some other time things that happen, and there's a moment where like 3 or 4 threads are all unraveling at the same time, and you're jumping from point to point. And I think it's really impressive that like it doesn't feel jarring to jump from all these different points all within like a 10-minute span of each other, because they're all emotionally relevant to what like each one happening at the same time. And so yeah, I just think how they tell the story and how they kind of slowly reveal all of these different threads that emotionally tie together, I think is really, really impressive.
Bear, what we got next for best indie/independent game? Nine Souls,
Oh.
which is one that I expected to be written in by Barrett Courtney, but I was surprised to see that it was instead written in by Andy Cortez.
Yeah, I showed this game to Barrett. Told him,
you.
recommended it
Tastemaker.
to him. Told him to give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's a game that I was very frustrated with early on. Nine Souls is a 2D Metroidvania platformer that has a lot of Sekiro tendencies, a lot of deflections. That's how you parry, and gameplay was always fantastic, but I was very frustrated with it early on. And this is a game that on the Kind of Funny channel during the pandemic, I recorded a demo gameplay for it and put up like demo gameplay, Sekiro 2D, whatever the hell, on the Kind of Funny channel, and was like, where's this game? And it finally came out, and was super stoked about it, and was immediately kind of annoyed by the exploration and stuff. And kind of once I got over that and started getting into the really good boss fights, but not only that, stories and characters, it gets really, really dark at times. But I love the journey that the main character goes on, and I think that if you're somebody who enjoys kind of difficult gameplay, or just somebody who wants a game with amazing characters, that these bosses that always have kind of motivations that you can kind of understand where they're coming from, I love that stuff. They tell a great story. It's from Red Candle Games. Shout out to Nine Souls.
Shout out.
Well said. Well said.
Bear, what's the next game? Thank goodness you're here. Which I look at Greg because I assume this is a Greg joke.
It was, yeah. I'm never sure if you have stats on who else put it on here. Yeah, thank goodness you're here. A game that caught me off guard. I thought it looked really goofy and looked really funny, but I didn't think it would be a good experience in terms of games, right? Humor's so hard to get into a game, let alone the fact that this is based entirely on British humor, which, as much as I love Monty Python or Benny Hill, right? Like, I'm not necessarily into the references and all these other different things they'd be dropping in here, even though I did live with Lucy James for quite some time. And worth pointing out, of course, that Jen, my wife, works at Pop Agenda, and they helped publish this game or help market it or whatever. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. You know how much I don't like most of the games they put out. Thank goodness you're here, though. Just a great indie, hilarious the entire way through, and I thought engaging in a gameplay way I wasn't expecting, right? You just jump and you just slap. That's all you do in this game. And I think they go through and pack this thing with funny references, gorgeous art, right? I think even when we were looking at the trailers, it was never the art didn't look. It was more like, am I watching Adult Swim? How is this going to actually perform? And they, of course, make it a slap former where you go through and have all sorts of little mini games, little mini things you're doing to do this thing, to move the next thing. You're always basically just pushing to the right, which will then loop you back around to get where you need to be. Hilarious, enjoyable, colorful, and most importantly, unexpected, I think. And I did not want my time with it to end, which I thought this is very much going to be a game I play, I'll enjoy for a little bit, but eventually fall out of. And instead, I went all the way through and just had such a good time with it.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Barrett, what's our final game for best indie/independent? Animal Well.
Was knocked over my fucking water. Hey, everybody.
You're 10 out of 10, Roger.
Yeah, Animal Well is a special video game. I'm not somebody who is a Metroidvania person. I've tried a lot of Metroidvanias this year, but Animal Well stays with me in a way that I can't describe. It feels like an all-timer experience when it comes to games. I love the exploration of this. I fell in love with going into a direction and getting completely lost and triple backing, quadruple backing, going through the entire map. I had a moment where I took out a pen and paper and drew the entire map and was trying to figure out where certain things were. The special thing about Animal Well is that there is no combat or traditional combat in that sense. So you're always just finding things to survive, right? You never feel like you are powerful against any of the animals or any of the kingdoms. You always feel like you're just surviving. You're just trying to get by. And all of the items are so unique. You see, of course, you have a bubble blower where you can hop on little bubbles. You have a frisbee. You have a yo-yo. It's in the visual style of it is gorgeous. It's very simplistic, and the game is extremely optimized. Like, not to get into the nerd side of it all, but like this game was made by one developer. All the music, all the graphics, everything about it is one guy made an entire engine for this game. I think he said that the game is like 8 megabytes or something crazy like that. You can put this on a flash drive, put it anywhere, boot it up, and it will play on anything. It is a really special game, and it's one that I don't even want to say more about, because if you haven't played it, play it, buy it, whatever, and just boot it up and hope you love it, because if you don't, that's totally fine, but it might be really something really special for you.
Shout out to Billy Basso.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with the game, it's hard to talk about the gameplay. Like, I'm definitely there with you, Roger, because so much of that game is discovering what the gameplay is and discovering how things work. I just want to shout out that if you play it in window mode and if you move the window around, the physics of the game follow the window on PC, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff.
Yeah, this is one that I also got super obsessed with. I think, you mentioning that there's not really combat in this game, at least traditional combat, is such like a big aspect of what I think does make this game special, where it is purely exploration and puzzle solving. And the fact that it isn't, oh, you're unlocking a bigger beam, or you're unlocking an uppercut that allows you to like get to higher places. It's more so, oh, you're unlocking a yo-yo.
Yeah.
And you got to really think about the ways in which you can use this thing. Oh, you unlock, like, I don't want to spoil the other items, but you unlock items where it's like, as you play it, as you tinker around, you kind of learn what these things get to do. And it, like, as you mess around in this thing, it's the same way that I'll like point to a game like Mario 64 and like learning just how to use your abilities and move and like do these different things. It unlocks
and
different
how they
ways
work
of getting
together
around.
too in interesting ways. Like, it was awesome having the playground moment with Andy, right? As we're playing it, we would come in every day and I'd be like, did you know XYZ did this? He was like, oh, I didn't even get that ability yet because I went this way the entire game. So like, you can really go at it any different way. Yeah, it's a masterclass in game design and level design specifically. That whole map is something special. And there's so many secrets in that game that they were even saying, like Billy Bassett was saying, like, yeah, like there are secrets in the game that I expected people to like find 10 years from now. People found in like a day, and there's some really wild stuff out there.
I almost wanted to fight Greg on Games Daily this morning, who was talking to Stella about the DICE Awards nominations, and you were going through the list of outstanding achievement in game design, and you said Animal Well, no combat, so probably Astrobot. It's like,
I wasn't insulting it for not having
No,
combat.
but you were
I was calling out what was different about its design.
you were using that as a way to say, like, it probably won't win because there's no combat. Which
No,
is just
that
like,
was not my point. But I understand where you could interpret that.
Do you want to fight him right now?
I think we
Roger?
have to fight him,
Fucking
bro.
shit,
I think we
man.
have to
See if you win. I don't think you're
I'll
gonna
go
win,
after
so
his calf.
Not my Garfield cat.
Congratulations to the best indie/independent games.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next category, Best Style. This is for the game encompassing an outstanding combination of visuals, music, and or fidelity. Barrett, reveal our first pick here. It is Destiny 2, The Final Shape.
It was probably mine.
Get us out. Yes, it was yours.
Probably mine.
The man that's talking about the style of Destiny 2 any chance he gets.
Well, because
Go
once,
off,
once
King.
I saw the nominations, Tim, I was like, was that mine? Because I could have sworn that I.
Here's the thing. It wasn't.
It was mine.
Yes! Yes! Come on!
We had a really good time with Destiny 2, the final shape. Great entry. But really, when it comes to style, it oozed style. It was all over the board. It was really messing with your mind. It had some great touches, some really good music, some cool fights where they incorporated 12 people instead of just your normal 3 on the fire team, which I really enjoyed. And all in all, yeah, this was a great little ending to Destiny 2, right? It's always fun to go back for the DLC and have a good time. But yeah, this is how I wanted to end my Destiny 2 run.
Yeah, 1,000%. Every time you'd walk into a new place, it's like, wow, this is a wallpaper. Amazing art direction, and I was so happy with the experience. As somebody who fell off of Destiny quite a bit, loved it.
Yeah, this is one of those categories where there wasn't really any consensus, right? Like everything that's being pulled up here got written in once. But Destiny 2, the final shape, I pushed to the front because Mike voted it in, but I remember hearing Andy all year talking about it. So yeah, congratulations, Destiny 2, the final shape. Next up, we got Black Myth Wukong.
Okay.
One that got voted in by Paris Lily, but another one that I saw and immediately co-signed as far as and I'm sure Andy will too, of this game looks fantastic. It has those cutscenes from chapter to chapter, which surprise you, delight you, makes you go, wow, I can't believe people are doing this in a AAA video game. This is so creative and forward looking as far as what you can do with this medium. But then also a game that I think one of the best things about it is how it presents, right? I love looking at this game. I love the effects that happen as I get into combat in this game. I love how the environments look in this game, right? I love the cutscenes. There's so much that is there as far as how this game presents that I think works and really does, for me, carry the experience while I'm playing it.
Yeah, really, really pretty. And you're totally dead on with those little interstitial cutscenes whenever you finish a chapter, and you just get a short animation, and it's here's a 4-minute stop motion animation. Here's a 4-minute just 2D anime style thing. It's really impressive what they do chapter to chapter.
Yeah, this is one of those games I keep on looking at the trailers and I'm like, damn, this looks like a fake game, but in the best way. You know what I mean? In a way of wow, I can't believe
this
that's
can't
too
be
polished.
real. This
I can't believe
real.
this is real.
Next up, we got Never.
Never ever.
Great call out for this. This was not my pick.
I think it was mine.
Yeah,
This
but
is Andy, yeah.
it makes sense though. I'm
Gorgeous.
happy to see it here because gorgeous, and I feel like the way that it ties just the look, the colors, the animations with the music, with the ambient sounds, with the voice call outs of her calling Neva, all of that combines to something that is stylish for a purpose, right? I feel like the style just backs up the substance of this game so beautifully.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with Neva. Similar to Destiny 2's, every screenshot, they really let you soak in those environments. And when they know they have something beautiful looking, they will totally pull the camera out and then just have your character super tiny amongst this amazing landscape with amazing color palettes and great environments. Yeah, Studio Nomada really kicked ass.
Next up, for best style, we got Metaphor ReFantasio. Which was a Greg Miller submission.
It was?
Whoa.
Yes.
Yeah.
I respect Metaphor so much. I did not roll credits on it. I tapped out early. JRPGs aren't my thing, but it is, I think, a remarkable stylistic choice from Atlas and this team, right? And obviously, you come to expect that when you look at, any Persona, but Persona 5 especially, right? For them to come in here with Metaphor and have this visual style for the world, and I know we've talked at length about this, Andy, on shows, right? Where you're like, it's ugly, it's not a good looking game, but I don't like this, but the style is what I think carries it in terms of it's committed to what it is and how it looks, and I think that's why it works. In the same way we can look at Switch games a lot and be like, well, of course it's not stunning 4K whatever, but it's gorgeous in terms of what it's doing. I think that's what Metaphor is for me.
For me, it's the UI. I mean, their UI, they always knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And whenever I say the game is unattractive, I think there's just some performance things where it looks noisy and maybe they go for crunchy textures in a way that doesn't appeal to my eye. But then I hit the pause menu and immediately all my complaints are like, shut up, you little bitch.
Yeah, the menus are so fucking wild and cool, and I love that they leaned into it being kind of messier. The one thing I want to shout out is all of these words are in different fonts from font to font, I believe, and it's just them kind of going away from Persona 5 and like how like sleek and cool Persona 5 was, and them just getting like totally weird with Metaphor, I absolutely adore. And then
A little grungy.
yeah, the art style in engine, all that stuff is just building off of what the Persona games have done so far, and I think they nailed it out of the park.
Yeah, I think I lean a little toward Andy talking about like kind of the crunchiness of some of the assets and how maybe it doesn't appeal to my eyes. But like Barrett mentioning even the fonts being all different font types, but like it works. I think that might loop back in a little bit to like what does work about them committing so hard to this, and also I think what is wild about how hard they committed to this, because it is, you know, you have those like the 2D key arts for the characters as they're talking, but like when you're traveling from a location to another location, you look at the runner and you look around in the environment you're in, and it almost looks like PS2 like type graphics, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at the characters,
Yeah.
and the characters have like this anime-ish aesthetic to them, and everything is committing real hard to almost a different type of style, which kind of gives this really interesting like colliding feel of, oh, y'all are throwing everything to this pot. And I think for the most part, it does stick, right? When you talk to people and talk about like Metaphor, what do they bring up? They'll bring up the story, they'll bring up the characters, but they will bring up the style and how well it works. And I don't want to like let this get lost to this, right? Like this category also encompassing music as well. And the music of Metaphor is goddamn, right? The battle music especially, I think, is one of the best songs to come out in a video game this year. But even outside of that, I think it commits to the persona tradition of like just great music throughout, right?
Yeah.
And so shout out Metaphor. Next game, our last game for best style.
Oh,
It is Dragon
Oh.
Ball Sparking Zero. This is one that I had to double down for this category, right? Like, this is maybe one of the best looking games I've ever seen in my life. And I can't believe that it's a sequel to the Tenkaichi series of Dragon Ball games. But it is, I think I knew this game had something special in its style when I would have people walk by my desk. I would have Roger look at my desk and be like, I can't believe how good this game
yeah.
looks.
I think I walked past you and I was like, I think this might be the greatest graphics I've ever seen in my life, because it literally looks like an episode. It's fucking insane shit. It's
Yeah.
insane stuff, dude.
And like, you know, when I talk about Metaphor and how much I think the style, or when I talk about Black Myth, I think specifically, and talk about how much the style I think carries Black Myth, I'll probably say the same thing to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, as far as like, I love the gameplay of Dragon Ball. I love like how they interpret the story. I love the amount of characters and the amount of content. There's so many good things I can talk about with this game, but there's something about how this game looks when you are pulling off anything, the amount of different animation sequences they have for all the special moves across, I forget how many characters they have in this game. I think it's like 100 and something. It is an incredible looking video game. And also I'll just shout out to the music as well, right? Like so many tracks that they have in this thing. They have like a customization setting where you can like put in different tracks for when characters enter like their sparking mode. It is fucking fantastic in terms of what it brings style wise. And so that is why it's my pick for best style.
Congrats to all the winners.
Congrats.
We're proud of you and your style.
Prince was once again robbed, but you know, it's okay. I get it.
I put
We'll
Yellow
talk
Taxi
about
Goes
that
room
later.
as well. We'll talk about that
Our next,
We'll talk about it.
right now.
voted in for every category. Our next category is best old game for a non-2024 game that deserves recognition. Barrett, if you can bring up our first winner, it is
Oh,
Dead
God,
Rising
Roger.
Deluxe Remaster.
Shake my hand, Mikey. Mikey and I went through an incredible experience playing Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster on stream. It's not a good game. Like, let's just be honest.
You know what? It's a great game.
It's a great game.
It's a great game, Roger.
No, it was funny because it was my first time actually like rolling credits on this game. I played maybe the first 5 hours of it as a kid so many times. So like actually playing it through, I was like, wow, there's like something here. Like they have a message here. They're going for something. Is it good? I don't know.
It's great. It's beautiful. It's awesome that they
hilarious.
brought this game back to 2024 and beyond.
I'm just
so
happy it
happy they
exists. I'm happy
remastered
it
this game.
exists.
Hell yeah. And Dead Rising as a franchise, fantastic video
Yeah.
game. Does some really fun stuff with the zombie apocalypse world. And the first one starting in the mall, and how old that game truly felt if you were trying to play the original nowadays is tough. They've definitely brought that to a new, 2024 feeling where you can play that in present day and smile and laugh, put up with the dumb shenanigans, but still get to see the psychopaths and
Yeah.
see all those killer moments, get to try to run around the mall and try to save all of those different people within the time limits. Like, this game absolutely rocks, and I'm so happy it's back.
Yeah.
Shout out to another thing we can add to the list where Roger says, "Is it good? I don't think so, but I
But
like
that's me though. Like those are my favorite things. Are the things that I'm like, I don't. Is it actually like if I were to give this to the Oscars, like are they gonna fucking say it's the greatest thing ever? No, they're not.
Another
but
thing,
like,
Roger's like, I don't want to look at the chat. I don't want to play Dead
listen,
Rising
don't
with
look
the
at me, chat. Don't look at my shame. But yeah, I had a great time. I did, however, see in the chat people were like Silent Hill 2, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Jesus Christ.
I put that one instead.
The Smileys takes
That's
itself
really
very seriously.
Forgot about
Everybody.
that
It's a
one. That
very
was a new game to me.
serious nominee award show.
Our next game is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
You love to see it. I wonder who put this here. Of course, it was me, everybody. One of the best Nintendo games ever, and that's saying something. I feel like this is definitely one of those games, came out in the GameCube. I would say kind of forgotten over the years. It has definitely gotten the credit that it deserves, and is at least starting to. And I think with this remake, it's going to continue to. But this is one of those games we can talk about Nintendo and they're all stars, right? Like what are the biggest hits they've had? What are the best games they've ever had? And we all can kind of understand that we can come up with a list of what, 10, 20, 30. Like we know that there's a lot of great games. This is one of those like cult classic ones. These are one of those if you know type things that everybody that played this knows that it is special, that it is one of the, if not the best of the Mario RPG series, no matter if you're talking about Paper Mario, Mario RPG, or Mario and Luigi. This is the one. Like this one is awesome. And I really want to give this extra flowers and credit for being one of the best remakes I've ever played. They put so much love into this GameCube game, turning it into a modern Switch game. And you might look at this and be like, all right, cool, this is what it was. No, like the lighting in this is so advanced. Just even it being like widescreen, all the way it all looks it's perfect. This is a perfect remake. I'm so happy way more people have been able to play it. I feel like even just getting the sales numbers we got, like I think that in the 1 year it's been out here, it's already like 5 times sold what it did on GameCube. Wow. Like that's awesome. But yeah, this game is great. And like, I would continue to recommend it to everybody at this panel. Like, I feel like you would vibe with it. This game's awesome. It is very funny. The gameplay is rad. Music's great. The adventure's fantastic. It's a classic.
Switch 2.
That's the first of 2 Mario games because I submitted Super Mario Sunshine. Okay. Not on the list.
Our next game for best old game is Monster Hunter Now.
I assume that's me.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah, Monster Hunter Now, of course, celebrated its year anniversary over the summer, right? And I was somebody as a Monster Hunter fan, somebody who enjoyed Pokemon Go, jumped in right away back when it first launched, and was whelmed enough and was like, okay, move on. As Ben's gotten older and I've had more free time in parks and walking around cities and also just sitting there while I can't commit to busting on a PlayStation Portal or a Steam Deck and really getting into something, I went back to Monster Hunter Now and the stuff they've packed in, the latest season, or the latest big season update about a year thing. It was like, damn, they've really come through and made a game that I feel is more active than Pokemon Go, at least for what I want to do in terms of like, I like getting in there and leveling up my weapons, and now I'm switching this, and now I have a daily quest that wants me to use a weapon I've never used before, so I'm going to go this, I'm going to build this. What do you hate?
I'm just so jealous. I'm so jealous that you get to play a fucking new game, and I'm stuck playing this like game from 2016 that they just refuse to change. They're just building on what was there, and I'm sitting here tapping like an idiot every time I play Monster Hunter Now at a demo or an event. I'm just like, this is so much better than Pokemon. I hate it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things. It's still a time waster. It's still a mobile game. It's whatever. I don't think it's doing the gotcha, and I'm not trying to grind to the highest degree and all this other stuff of like making me pay or anything to that thing. But like, they have a great battle pass that I really enjoy playing. They have cool unlocks. They have cool events all the time. They're giving me free outfits and this, that, the other. Like, I really do enjoy it. And the way they've expanded it this year of dropping in and giving you the portals to go fight monsters that aren't necessarily by you is very nice. There's the different biomes that from Monster Hunter, right? But they move across the map. So like, even if you were to stay in one park every day, that's where you play, every day, theoretically, it should be a different biome that you're able to capture a different monster and do a different thing in. I love Monster Hunter Now, and I can't get enough.
Again, shout out to me going to Osaka to play Monster Hunter Wilds and then getting an email from Capcom PR saying, and while you're in Osaka, Andy, we would love to reward you with this Monster Hunter Battle Pass, and here's this like in-game currency and all this stuff. And I saw the email and then immediately get a reply from Greg, who's on the email thread. I was like, whoa, wait. I want that. Can I get that?
Oh yeah. I mean,
They're like, of course.
Give me the stuff.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
Our fourth game for best old game is Bloodborne.
Hey, you heard of this game?
Whoa. Who wrote this one in?
Heard of this? So who's this?
Tam somehow.
Had a great, somehow Tam infiltrated. I played it again for the first time since I beat it. Since the first time I'd ever played it. Played it last year. Obviously, you know the saga. Spent $1,200 on a modded PS5. Got it to run in 60 frames per second, and it was as glorious as I could have ever hoped for it to be. And really good video game. You also check it out, Bloodborne.
Never heard of it.
Remake this year.
Oh man, Frostadamus.
And our fifth pick for best old game is Backyard Baseball.
I've played a lot of old games this year, Tim. I don't know if you've known. I've gone through all the FromSoft catalog. I've played Kingdom Hearts. I've now completed Half-Life. And none of them compare to Backyard Baseball. Of course, the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
The
Who
Gooch.
would have thought that a point-and-click sports game would be the best sports game ever made? And I'm happy to say they did it. Okay, they knocked it out of the park. Backyard Baseball 97. You draft those kids. You make the best kids' youth sports team that you can, and you have fun. From Pablo to Ernie, Petey Wheeler to the Weber twins, you can have a great time smiling, swinging, and having a good time with your friends. I mean, I'm blown away that we live in 2024 and we are now returning to the backyard sports franchise with baseball, soccer, hopefully basketball, hockey, and football make their way onto the catalog. But I'll tell you what, nothing better than, drafting 9 kids onto your sports team, making the mighty Melonheads, going out week to week, taking on the Blue Sox, the Giants, the Swamp Rats. It doesn't matter. It's just a fun time. And so, best old game of the year goes to Backyard Baseball this year for me.
I'll also say best stream of the year is this stream
Yes.
from the
Thank you.
over the break, which I randomly caught, and you really made something special here, Mike.
Yeah, you don't want to know about that one, Tim. You don't want to know
You
about
don't
Sue
want-
Blackwood and what she's doing out there.
This is definitely one of those
Denzel.
ones.
That's Ernie Steele's father.
We really have to thank the Photoshop Select Subject tool for Mike.
Oh, yeah.
really learned, shout out to Evie. I'm hosting parent-teacher conferences right now because my team of 9 has to go to a team of 8 for soccer, which means one kid will be cut. And so we're currently having conversations. You can see Pete, he comes from a split family. Of course, he has a stepfather now. It's a lot of lore.
Which one is the stepfather? Earl? or-
No, Kenny Powers.
Yeah,
Kenny
okay.
Powers
Yeah, of
doesn't really
course.
love Pete. He doesn't call him the son at all.
Damn.
But you got to give a lot of love to Earl. He's
you
out
never
there
would
just trying
expect
his best.
Backyard Baseball to have the storyline this deep and complex, but here we are.
This is built
This is
into the
it.
game, too.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
right there.
This is
stuff,
one of those
thank
ones
you.
where I remember streaming and rating Mike, and I didn't know that this was happening, and he was in the middle of one of these streams, and I'd never seen him commit so hard to character, and I was like, good for him, just living his best
I'm so
life.
proud of
love
him. I'm so proud of him.
Congratulations to all of our best old game winners. Again, those were Dead Rising, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Monster Hunter Now, Bloodborne, and Backyard Baseball. Our next category is Best Early Access.
Ooh-wee!
The game that had the best showing in early access. Let's start off with our first winner, which is Hades 2.
Of course it is.
Surprising.
Oh my God. What a video game. Honestly, I think the worst thing about this game is that it came out in early access.
Yeah.
I wish it just came out, was finished, and amazing because it would be the best game of all time. Hades 2 is infinitely playable. It is fantastic. Every single thing you can say about it is good. I have nothing bad to say about this game.
Wow. That's incredible.
This game is the equivalent to the Green Goblin mask in my computer in the way that I played it when I played the early access when it first came out, got obsessed with it. I played so much of it, and then after a while, I had to put it down to be like, all right, I don't want to play any more of this until final release. I can't let myself play this throughout the year with the updates and all that stuff, and then, not that I'll burn out on it, but I want to have that fresh experience when it finally does come out. And so, I've had to try and pull myself back, but every now and then I open up Steam and I am looking for something to play, and I see the Hades 2, and it is speaking to me like the Green Goblin mask, play me now. And I'm like, I shouldn't do that. I want to kill Spider-Man. But
With all of the early accesses that we play, especially I would say me and Mike probably play the most early accesses, there's always the discussion that, all right, I'll play a little bit now, and when the new update comes in, then I'll hop back in. what are the odds that we ever hop back in, Mike? It's very low, I would say. Like, we rarely ever go back to those games whenever a new update comes because its time was here and we moved on to something else, whatever the case may be.
A lot of them just stay in early access purgatory.
They
for the
sure
rest
do.
of their
They sure
days.
do. And Hades drops and immediately, 40 hours in, I play it and I love everything about it. It's like, wow, what an incredible experience. And then we've seen a couple of other DLC drops. That we had the Ben Starr sort of DLC recently. The something of the Olympians. I forget what it's called. Where he's
the Olympian.
yeah, that's exactly how he talks.
Wow.
And I've put in another 20 hours, and it just happens so
goes by.
fast.
Yeah.
And it's just as fun, and the new additions make the game even more rewarding and more fun. Tim, you're right. It may be the perfect game.
And with that too, it's like, we often say like, oh, it's the perfect mobile game, or it's the perfect Steam Deck game, or it's the perfect this game or that game. This is the perfect anywhere you play it game. Like on the Steam Deck, I can't imagine something being better, especially on Steam Deck OLED. This game freaking sings. You get that 16:10 aspect ratio. It takes advantage of that extra real estate and looks great. I play this on my super ultra wide computer at home, and it takes advantage of it. Like, this game is amazing, no matter how you play it. God, I can't wait for it to be done.
I booted it up in not the early access, but like the test that they gave us or whatever, and I beat that, and I was like, I can't touch this game until
man.
at 1.0. It's just so.
I forgot about the
It was
test.
so fucking good, and I was like, no, I need to just. I'll hold off.
That's
This is so
mine
good.
as well. Where I jumped in, tasted it. I'm like, okay, I want to just wait for the final product.
Best fantasy critic draft I've ever had. Shout out.
How much
Yeah.
is that? Like 94, 90,
I mean, you just got to
93?
believe in the early access.
You should have been able to do it
Crazy
again
that
this year.
people
Come
are
on.
reviewing an early access game, but I cut myself off as well, Greg and Roger, just because there's that moment once you can go up, and then I went up, and I was like, this game is so much bigger than
Yeah.
I expected it to be, and it's only in early access, and I don't have
Don't have the brain
this
power.
needs to be a different year game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Out of the 8 of us who voted, 6 of us voted for Hades
shit.
too.
I think I voted for it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But there was a single brave soul who did vote for our next game, which is Fields of Mystria. Remember Fields of Mystria?
I'm just such a brave person. Fields of Mystria is an incredible game. I wish this is the game that I regret not playing more of. I wanted to really dig my teeth into it. There was one moment where I was like, had a month where I was like, this is the prime moment to get into it, and then for some reason kept on crashing on my Steam Deck, so I just could not boot it up.
PC gaming.
Yeah, I know, right? But now it's fixed, but whatever. I'm not a Stardew Valley person. I'm not even really that deep of an Animal Crossing person or any cozy type of game, but this one just took me by surprise. I was playing it religiously every single night. It was one of those few games that me and Leanza were playing together concurrently, which was awesome. She had her save, and we were like going back and forth and being like, hey, what's the best way to do this? How do you actually deal with all of these animals and these crops? And I love getting to know these characters. Like that was the part of this that I did not expect at all. I expected me maybe to like get into the farming aspect, maybe even the going into the caves and mining, but the characters are really compelling. They're so hot, all of them. It's incredible. And yeah, I have my favorites, and I'm like now trying to get the one that's really mad, that really is annoyed at me, and I'm like trying to find all the stuff so then he can date me, and like that's now my whole gameplay. I'm excited for the 1.0 because I think I'm very much where I'm at with Hades, where I'm like, this is really great, but what if I just hold off? What if I just hold off and I have the full 1.0? But the place that it's in right now is so polished. If you told me that this wasn't this wasn't an early access game, I would believe you. I'd be like, yeah, this could go as a 1.0, and I would love it. I'm excited for this game specifically to get onto Switch and to other platforms because I think it's going to be fucking huge. Like this is going to be like a cultural phenomenon. Fields of Mystria specifically.
Yeah, the most recent update added the ability to kind of go further with the relationships and added much more progression towards things. And this is one of those games I was just mentioning earlier where me and Mike are like, we'll get back to it. This is one that all year I kept saying, I'll get back to it once that newer update comes through because I put in 25 hours into the initial launch and unfortunately never got back to it because I would look at my Steam Deck like, what if I just boot up Hades too? But this is one I definitely want to get back to. I had a great time with this one, and yeah, a lot of baddies.
The color scheme is so beautiful too. Like everything about like the way this game looks is fucking gorgeous.
Good music too.
Yeah.
Our third winner for best early access of 2024 is Path of Exile 2.
Damn, you're the
Wow.
coolest.
Hello, everybody. It's me,
Nice
Greg
stuff.
Miller, Path of Exile 2. The narrative here would be, of course, Xanth, our boy,
The man.
the official ARPG expert of Kind of Funny.
The most well-spoken person to ever make an appearance on any of our shows,
Yes.
period.
In such a good temperament. He's like so gentle while we're like screaming and farting into microphones. Of course, Xanth, I know from the Diablo podcast because I'm obsessed, still am, with Diablo. Excuse me, sorry. Inhaled right at the wrong time. And this year would be marked with my hype for Diablo 4 building up to Vessel of Hatred and how I did something that does not happen to me usually with video games and burned myself out. I wanted the platinum before Vessel of Hatred. I threw so much time into it, and I had to grind so hard for that final push, which would have been way easier after Vessel of Hatred. I then got Vessel of Hatred, reviewed it, got the retail copy, played it, and then put it down where I thought I'd still be doing my usual check-ins, working on this thing, blah, blah. So when Path of Exile 2 is coming up and entering early access, Xanth is all about it. He is telling me and coming on the shows and talking about how it might be the best action RPG of all time. And I downloaded it truly expecting to be like, okay,
Not Diablo.
but I'm burned out on Diablo. I don't want more of this. And I was so shocked to get in. Oh, there's no character creator. I just person. That's not usually my scene. Jump in and find that this game has such a different rhythm. That it is not Diablo. It is not trying to be that click, 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 kill, 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 kill. Oh, numbers go up. I'm happy. Blah blah. It is. For lack of a better term, even though it's not. For me, though, it is what you guys see in Souls games so much of like, okay, cool. There's a large boss. There are bosses all over the map. I see them there. I go there. I engage with this boss, and cool. I have to learn the attack pattern. I have to know when to dodge. I died. I'm coming right back. I'm jumping in. It's not, you lose all your stuff and all this stuff. It's very forgiving on the deaths, but it is this, okay, cool, I'm jumping back in and I'm trying to figure this out and I'm trying to crack this nut that is this one boss. I've done it. Congratulations. I've gone up. I feel you level slowly, which is fine. I feel the gameplay is more weighted, is a slower gameplay. It is that I walk in and guess what? There are a bunch of ads around me, and in Diablo, we were playing hardcore the other day. Granted on normal, and then we cranked it up to hard. But like, you get surrounded by ads, you're going to be fine for the most part.
Ads?
Yeah, not your boss, your additional enemies. Yeah, that's what you call the little grunts or whatever.
Gotcha.
When you get
Tim, come on, man.
a half circle.
I thought I was talking
I
about
thought
the
the
Game
same
Awards.
thing,
You know what
but
I
yeah,
mean?
Fucking Mario doesn't have ads. You know what I
Play
mean?
World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
get this show ad-free with the kind of fun.
Speaking of that,
But when they, hear a crescent of like 5 guys, that can be the end of you. You got to fall back. You got to get defensive. I love how differently this plays. I think that there's room in my heart for both of them where I will eventually be over I had too much Diablo at the buffet when I come back probably the next season. And when this gets more updates and when this is a full 1.0, I'm going to be off to the races on both of them. I love Path of Exile too.
Yeah, this game rocks. Spent about 14 hours on this one, got to Act 2, and loved every single minute of it. It is the Diablo alternative that I've always looked for, right? And I love all of it that it has to offer. I know a lot of people get a little worried because it does look so overwhelming, but it's not, right? You take the time to learn, and of course, I had Xanth as a teacher, but I love the giant skill tree that you have. I love that all the passive abilities look like the galaxy of stars above your head as you go through each and every one and level up your character. This is a must-play ARPG if you're looking for another piece of Diablo pie. This is great.
Hell yeah.
The last 2 selections for Best Early Access, because these were the only 3 that were nominated. So I took Executive Power and I just added 2 that I also really enjoyed this year. And that is Witchfire, which is a game that I could not talk enough about. First-person shooter, roguelite. And it's a game that's been in early access for a very long time. So I say that so that you don't think that, I'll wait to buy it because it's probably not very much of a completed product. This game feels very developed. This game has been in development for about, I think, like 7 years or so, and then it hit early access in 2021, I believe, on the Epic Game Store, and then it finally hit Steam early access last year. This game is very, very developed. It's from the developers of Painkiller. This is again, very Doom sort of style with a lot of Destiny-type magic, but the progression is so damn addicting, and the amount of times I thought I was going to end a stream and then said, let me just check out this new gun I unlocked that marks all of the enemies when I'm aiming down sights so that when I shoot one of them, the bullets travel to all the other enemies. Let me see how that looks, and then you get addicted to that loop. It's so creative, and it's so fun, and it's oozing with style. Visually, it's awesome, and the only thing is that I wish the soundtrack was a bit more banging, but other than that, I think it's so addicting and so much fun to play, and this is kind of why I love roguelites. And the next one on the list is another roguelite. and that's Windblown. This is one that I really want Tim to play.
This is a good one.
And this is one that I want me, Bless, and Mike to get back to, because for the amount of times that you see a game that you ask yourself, oh, you could play multiplayer, will it be as good? Nah, it's probably meant for multiplayer. This is one that I looked at, was like, I'm going to play Windblown just as a single player experience. It is from the devs. It's Motion Twin, the people that made Dead Cells. And Windblown is a top-down roguelite adventure action game with a lot of the same ideas of Dead Cells. A lot of that core DNA is there. But while you play, I was like, I'll play this as a single-player experience. We'll stream it with Mike and Bless. I'm probably not going to dig it that much, and somehow I dug the multiplayer experience even more than I did the single-player experience. Has a really awesome feature. Whenever everybody's dead and there's only one person left in the game, it kicks on this sudden death mechanic, where the one person who's alive, if you kill a certain amount of enemies, you bring back your homies, but you die in one hit. And it's just like all or nothing sort of thing. You really have to clutch up, and moments like that just bring so much more excitement. But this game is a lot of fun, and again, progression and meeting NPCs out in the wild that whenever you meet them, you'll recruit them back to your base, and now they upgrade this thing, and that NPC upgrades permanent, permanent things about your build that may improve future runs. It's so much fun. It's got a great style, and the coolest thing and the best decision they made is that you can't dash off the edges.
Nice.
It makes you feel so good and fast and slick while you're kind of traversing the world. It's a blast to play. And this is one that I really want Tim to play, because I think he'll see the magic.
I bought it and I've downloaded it on my PC and Steam Deck, and I just still haven't booted it up. That's my bad. But
Very good
I
one.
did get it.
This one is definitely one that I will say is earlier than a lot of the early accesses on this list. Well, I think Path of Exile might be equal, but Windblown is one that is still very early on, where a lot of the feedback is still being taken into a lot of consideration, where I'd say something like Witchfire and Hades 2 seem really, really kind of far down in their development cycle.
Yeah. It strikes me as one that's going to be really special when it gets to that 1.0.
I this was like so close to making my kind of like top 15. Will it kind of get close to being a top 10? For me, this is one of those that's like, do not be surprised if you see it as a top 10 in the year that it finally releases. A lot of fun.
Love that.
Congratulations to all of our winners of Best Early Access of 2024. We're going to move on to our next category, but before we do, I want to shout out some super chats. We had quite a few come in. Ultra Hyper J-Dub super chats with a birthday tax. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
CJ Splitzen wrote this during our early access segment and said, Hades 2 Game of the Year contender 2025? ? We'll see.
I mean,
probably.
my
Whenever it
biggest
comes
problem
out.
with is I feel like the early access shit gets in the way of all that.
You
But-
think so? I
I think it's still going to be in the conversation, but I do think there's going to be a lot of people that don't necessarily like
Yeah, they think
give it the
that
same
that-
credit.
yeah,
Like,
that they
I think
don't.
I'm one of those people.
Wow. Failure to Think writes in and says, PPV of Mike coaching a real kids baseball team.
Jesus.
I'm sure you'll get that at some point. Rails writes in and says, Master of Hype Snow Mike, dig the jacket, looking sharp, jabroni.
Feel great.
Joe Ferrarelli wrote in, I believe during our best indie segment, it said, reminder, Balatro is free on Apple Arcade. Dilsh writes
They
in
still
and
got that, huh?
Yeah.
Apple
Oh,
Arcade,
yeah.
yeah.
Updating it.
Still rocking.
Dilsh writes in and says, Factorio Space Age, the greatest automation / base builder of all time. Play it, Mike and everyone. Dear Six, it says, oh man, I hope this award show has the Silk Song announcement. Beast writes in and wants to know why you're not wearing a kind of funny blue blazer, Tim.
I like look how good I look. You know what I mean? You go with the offset, right? It was like we're mainly blue. It's like I want to pop off with the accent color.
Yeah, it's
and
a
he
blue and
confirmed with
gold
me
thing.
yesterday.
I
We had
love
the
that,
blue and the
Tim.
gold. You got to pop with the gold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you asked that question.
Yeah.
I thought it was a back end thing. You're like, hey, I gotta like.
Oh no, it was,
suit.
it was
Okay.
for what outfit I was going to wear.
I love that. I love
Tim,
that.
unfortunately,
I
Macy's
brought my
doesn't sell
blue
that.
as well today. Just I was like, I wanted to I wanted to sit down and see with you guys if I looked stupid, and I don't. So I was like, I'm gonna rock
great.
this.
Killer.
I like
Thank
it.
you.
We got one more from Lewis Legg who writes in and says, thank you all for what you do. Massively helped me through struggles with grief. All looking dapper as fuck. And Roger would be a great Lex Luthor. Love you all.
I love that. I love that. Hire me, James Gunn.
Let's move on to our fifth category here. Best DLC / expansion. This is for the expansion or downloadable content that you fell in love with. Our first winner for this category is, of course, Elden Ring. Shadow of
What a
the
surprise.
Erdtree.
What a surprise.
Similar to, I believe, Hades 2, out of the 8 of us, 5 of us voted in with Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree.
This is one that I told Bless, if this has a lot of nominations, then put something else on the list. But yeah, Elden Ring. I mean, what a great time. Tough adventure, amazing art direction, incredible discovery. They made a whole other video game that took 50 hours to beat for their DLC, and it's a great freaking time.
Yeah, Andy and I almost missed Tim's wedding because Andy couldn't beat the boss.
Yeah. Well,
That was a
That would
fun
have been a
time.
good story.
we definitely stopped playing co-op, and then I beat the boss
Yep.
solo. Mike got really mad at me.
Cheated on me.
Mike got really
Never
mad
will
at me.
forgive him. What a great game. What a
Fucking Andy, I
fantastic
hate him.
DLC. Especially because I played all of the FromSoft games this year and I played all the DLCs. And to see the growth of a DLC package and what you would expect out of a From Software title to then a giant open world. Here is just an experience that is almost like Elden Ring, where it's just massive 40 hours. You can get lost. You can find different caves. You have everything that you would expect from it. I cannot believe that they built this and we got to play this and enjoy it this year. What a great game.
Yeah, I think one that captured the zeitgeist, especially in the first half of the year, where so much of our coverage felt like it was anticipating Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and that dominated so much of our, oh, what does this mean? Oh, us watching the trailer and being like, okay, so what is like this sickle sort of thing that looks like a side of grace, but it isn't a side of grace? And so much speculation was so fun leading up to this, but even while playing it, it was the thing of, you know, playing the original Elden Ring in anticipation for Erd Tree, and then playing Erd Tree and being like, wow, y'all didn't just make more Elden Ring. Like, y'all found ways to, you know, redo how certain aspects work, right? Like, caves are different. The catacombs are kind of different, right? Like, you guys are adding in more of like the side content that you'd expect, or like, I guess, the discoverable content that you'd expect, but remixing it in ways that makes this world feel a bit more alive and a bit more, you know, seamless as you go. That plus the bosses being incredible, like how they figure out the difficulty ramp, which might have been a bit much, but yeah, like there's so much I could say, like how vertical the world design was compared to base Elden Ring, where it is, wow, you guys continue to level up how you think about even how you design an open world. Very impressive with Shadow of the Erd Tree. Our next winner for best DLC / expansion is Alan Wake 2 Night Springs.
Yeah, I wrote that one in. Just me, right? Just me.
I believe it was
That
just
makes
yeah.
sense. I don't know. Greg played it too.
I loved it.
Yeah, I actually, to be honest, this is a year of like I didn't really play many expansions or DLC, but this is the one that stood out to me. Surprisingly disappointed by the other Alan Wake 2 DLC. I thought it was kind of bare bones and didn't really move the story ahead at all. But Alan Wake 2 Night Springs was just a fun time, right? It's 3 bespoke stories inside of the multiverse of Alan Wake 2, and they get weird with it, right? You have Jesse Faden in an alternate universe. You have the waitress in a diner, and then you have what's his face from he's the detective in this one, but he's also in Quantum Break.
I mean, Sam Lake
Sam-
himself. Yeah.
No.
Oh, no, you mean Sean Ashmore.
Yeah, Sean Ashmore. So 3 really weird stories that play into the multiverse of the Remedy universe, and it gets really weird, but has some interesting implications for the rest of the universe, right? For Control 2 and potentially an Alan Wake 3, and it gets super meta and fun. But I just had a blast. It's such a great hanging out after work and just playing this for 2.5 hours, and just I'm not going to forget this experience. This was a great way to kind of put a pin into the Alan Wake 2.
DLCs for story-based games are so difficult, right? Yeah. Where it is like, well, how much are you doing? Why wouldn't you go make a sequel? And I think so many times things get released and it actually doesn't take away, but it's like, well, I already rolled credits, so to jump into this is going to be so tough. This being an anthology set in the Night Springs, which of course is their Twilight Zone inside of Alan Wake 2. It was such a great little fun way of like, let's give you more out of this game in this quirky universe we've made.
Yeah, I just want to shout out just the writing as well. Like
Hilarious.
So funny, especially with the waitress, which I think is like technically the first one. I think you can play him in any order, but like that's the first one that pops up in the menu. And just the writing of that, of her kind of delusion of having a relationship with Alan Wake and how that plays into like fan fiction writing and all that was so goddamn funny. They nailed it. It's so good.
The villains yelling random barks that are just very meta about like the game development or about the game as a whole. And like, yeah, you in the normal game you just hear a bunch of enemies saying like "wake" or whatever, but in this DLC, just having villains yell at you like, this meta narrative is too hard to understand. Like, just random shit like that.
And
It's
then,
like, very
there's
funny.
the boss fight where Alan Wake turns into like a werewolf with her, and then he's like, my motorcycle's a werewolf too, and like all this shit. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? It's so fucking funny.
So creative and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our third winner for the best DLC / expansion of 2024 is Starfield Shattered Space.
Who is this?
Oh.
It's your dark horse for game of the year, everybody. So look out on
oh.
Monday. You never know what's going to happen.
Very
Shit
dark
got
horse.
there. Nobody would see it coming. Everybody knows how much I adore Starfield, how much fun I have in this game. That, again, is not a 10 out of 10 by any stretch of the imagination. Shattered Space was my pick for this because, of course, it is a DLC that gave us what the base game should have been. Here is a planet that was handcrafted. It's chock full of what you'd expect from a Bethesda RPG, of little conversations to listen to. Here comes the quest. Here are these decisions to make. How do you want to go out? You get to the end. There's going to be this big choice, this choice. Who do you put in charge? Blah, blah, blah. On top of that, a completely different color palette from what we had seen in Starfield before then. On top of that, for so many people, it was their return to a Starfield that is far different than a launch game. 60 frames per second on Xbox, of course. Having vehicles to drive around in. The launch of the mod shop, right, that had quests from Bethesda and then other quests from other creators that I think are better than some of the quests that are from Bethesda and have been added to it. As a Starfield stan, it was just a great way to jump back in, enjoy that world. I spent a lot of time in there and feel like, man, this is what I wish the game would have been all the way through, but I'm happy to have it now.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Congratulations, Starfield.
Our fourth winner for best DLC / expansion of 2024 is Prince of Persia: Mask of Darkness.
Who is this? What a DLC. What a video game. Honestly, I feel honored that we were even able to get this expansion this year. I remember when they announced it at the Ubisoft Forward, it was just such a like, whoa, oh my God, we're getting DLC of this game. Like, didn't expect that. And if we did, I thought it was just going to be kind of like, oh, hey, here's some outfits. And they did that as well. I think that at the end of the day, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown is going to go down as one of my favorites of all time. And with the post-release content that they've done, I think that it's only gotten better. And any kind of issue I had with the core game, they addressed. And any outfit that I wished that they had, they added. And a lot of the little quality of life things that playing through it the first time, I was like, man, I really wish fast travel worked just a little bit different. Now it does. The DLC added all of that stuff. But in addition to that, specifically the Mask of Darkness expansion here, added everything that I love about Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Amazing combat, amazing platforming challenges, and very, very, very creative abilities and power-ups, and using those in every way imaginable, getting the most juice out of it. And I couldn't believe that in this 5-hour expansion, whatever it is, there's like 2 new abilities that are as good as the ones in the core game. And that was very special. The boss fights in this were great. I don't know that this is as good as every single thing from the core game, but getting more of it was such a surprise story-wise. I thought the stuff was a great addition. And I absolutely hate what happened to this team. They do not deserve it. But they really, really put their all into even this expansion, and I'm very thankful for it.
And then our fifth winner for best DLC / expansion of 2024 is Destiny 2: The Final Shape.
Oh, this was mine. This was my alternate one in case it was too many Elden Ring votes. Because I just, again, as somebody who fell hard off of Destiny 2 for a long time, to hop back in, and knowing that I wanted to hop back in for the final DLC, which is The Final Shape, somebody who just does, I don't know shit about the lore, but I think those final moments culminated in such an amazing way, even for somebody like me who didn't really know every touchstone for every side character that you've met along the way. But them having this Avengers Endgame moment at the end was just awesome. And gameplay-wise, puzzle-wise, whatever they were asking you and your squad to do gameplay-wise was so fun. And it's just like pure first-person shooter fun. The amount of puzzles where a lot of... I think just really engaging in ways that I hadn't experienced in Destiny in a while. And I was so happy that largely the whole community of Destiny was like, wow, you all fucking crushed it. You landed the plane. This was a great time. I had an amazing time with Destiny 2, The Final Shape. Didn't do the raid, though. Didn't get raid ready, Mike. Chris Anka didn't tell us.
I got raid ready.
Damn.
Did you do the
Did you do the raid?
No. Everybody talks a big game. They don't
He's
want to
betrayed.
trade.
I got raid ready. I didn't do it though. Congratulations to our winners of Best DLC / Expansion of 2024. This brings us to our 6th category out of 12. We're about halfway there. Best Innovation, probably one of my favorite categories, I'll say. This is honoring a game mechanic or system that was unique and or pushed things forward in 2024. Our first winner of this category. Well, I was going to do a half. Oh, yeah, after this. Our first winner is Crypt Master.
This is me, I assume?
This is me and you.
Oh,
This
wow.
one had 2 votes for it.
Come on now.
Come on.
Holy
Crypt
shit.
Master, a game I think that was criminally overlooked this year, in a great year of games. You know what I mean? And even recently, the developer came out on the social accounts like, "Hey, we have a 95 or whatever on OpenCritic, and everybody loves us, but like we can't get in front of press, and people aren't paying attention." As a fan of Typing of the Dead, which I just talked about with Stella today, right? Like this game dropping and being this, you have 4 characters, you're dungeon crawling, but the way you are doing it is trying to relearn words, and you're typing words in and trying to figure them out. And when you do, you can then use them to cast, right? And go through and have these attacks. Like I thought taking that, Typing of the Dead, type out your attack, right? But have it be this, they're giving you riddles that you're then trying to solve, right? There's things you find that are other riddles to open the chest, and you have to type in questions to the Crypt Masters, then describing what it is. Like, can he taste it? Can he smell it? All these different, like, this is such a fun game. I think even me talking about it doesn't showcase, if we can put a trailer up, right, of this amazing black and white structure they have to it, the voice acting of the Crypt Master being so cool, but then going through and having to type and have him do things for then you to learn how you can attack and go out there. So cool, right? It's so
him
different.
having so many responses too whenever you type something, and like if you say anything that is maybe whatever related to the scenario, he'll have some commentary to it. And it's one of those ones where I don't understand how they made this work as an indie game. Like this feels like it has so much work put into it to make it work. But it's super fun, right? And like the variety of puzzles in it, like Greg, you know how much I love puzzles.
You puzzle
like,
poppy.
This game very much like speaks to me in a way where I'm like, oh, this feels tailor made for me. And
that's the thing where I think it's it's a dungeon crawler, but it is a puzzler, right? As you go through and you have to figure out how to open the chest, and you have to figure out how to move through these doors using language and words.
Our second winner for Best Innovation of 2024 is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown's Memory Shards.
Timmy?
You want to talk about it, Andy?
This was not on mine because I knew Tim was going to put it in there. But I love the idea. I also have Tic Tacs in my mouth, so maybe.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So I did put it here. It's not a surprise,
I knew
but
he was
I do think this is one of the biggest kind of selling points to people when initially when I was trying to pitch Andy and some of the team on playing this game early on, where it's a Metroidvania and it's very, very big. The map can it's much larger than you expect it to be, especially by the end of the game. But it had such a simple but brilliant innovation, which is these memory shards. You can essentially take a picture of a room you're in where you're like, okay, cool, I don't have the ability for this, but I know that eventually I'm going to come back and have whatever power I need to be able to solve whatever puzzle or get to wherever I need to in
Get
this,
that treasure,
in this room.
especially.
Get the treasure, get the whatever it is, go through a different door, go through a hole, whatever it is. We've all played Metroidvanias. We understand that feeling of like, oh man, I wish I had the thing. And you're never going to remember that. You try to remember, maybe you can pull up the map and like try your best to come up with some system of like, every game has some type of like,
Markers.
not every, but like the markers or something.
Yeah.
But to be able to actually pull up a screenshot of like what that room was and you remember exactly what it is, it really caused me to, anytime I got an upgraded ability, pull that up and be like, oh, I need to go back there. I want to backtrack there now because I have this ability instead of waiting. And it's like, that's very cool. And I feel like it gives you this like familiarity with the map and the traversing of the game so much fun that like I think that it enhanced my experience so much, not just in the, oh, this is making it better to remember where to go, but also making me play the game in a different way that I think overall benefited the gameplay.
It's also not, it's more than just taking a screenshot on your Switch or something like that. In your overworld map where you see this gigantic sort of sprawling, here's this, what you would expect a Metroidvania map to look like. You see that little icon all over the map of the places that you were putting down these memory shards, and then you can hover over that little icon and then boom, opens up this little memory shard. Here's a screenshot you took with that treasure chest that you couldn't get to because you didn't have double jump yet or whatever.
And in addition to you saying it's like it's not just a screenshot, I feel like explaining it kind of sounds like this is the most simple thing in the world. I think that's kind of like, yeah, this is a great innovation. Like, why hasn't every game before had this? And I think that it works very well in tandem with all of the options this game allows you, both from an accessibility perspective, but also just from just every perspective. Like, you can tweak from like a scale of like 1 to 10 of like how fast you want things to move, how much damage you want to take or whatever. And it's just like, it really allows you to just play the game how you want. And I feel like for something like a challenging combat focused and challenging platform focused Metroidvania, being able to kind of decide how hard you want the combat and the platforming to be, the way that this game handles it, it's like, if this is an innovation, I don't know what is. Like, they truly took a tried and true genre like a Metroidvania that has some of the best games we've ever made and innovated on how they play. Incredible
My only
stuff.
nitpick with it is that I wanted unlimited. I just wanted to be able to do it everywhere. And then I realized, like, I maxed it out, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do here now. I'm just going to fucking stop playing this game.
Yeah.
You eventually level that up as well, and you get more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, well.
Be a good
Sucks
Roger.
to suck. You know what I mean? I only had 8 of them. I needed 10.
Our third winner for best innovation of 2024 is Metaphor ReFantasio's archetype system.
Interesting.
This is probably my favorite part of this video game is the archetype system.
Explain to me how this is different from someone who played Metaphor, didn't play Persona.
It's
What's
just way
different?
more customizable, and I think
Okay.
it's way more deep than the Persona games. And Barrett might be able to explain it with more accuracy.
So Persona is different in terms of like the rest of your party have one specific like monster or whatever you want to call it that's attached to them. So they're only upgrading like that specific like as an example, Ryuji in Persona 5 has this skeleton dude who does electric attacks. Ryuji's just doing that for the entire game, right? Whereas Metaphor does something different, which isn't new for JRPGs, but it is a class system where you're able to kind of pick and choose what your team members are doing. But I think the innovation with the archetype system is being able to unlock all of these different routes for your entire team and then mixing and matching
interesting.
abilities. Whereas in Persona, only your character, like the MC, is the only one who can like switch out monsters and all that shit. And so I thought the mixing and matching and being able to play around with all of these different types of gameplay styles, not just for yourself, but for your entire party, I think was such a, I don't know, big push for this style of game that I thought was, you know, that we've seen before, but just like the little tweaks here and there, and might not be the biggest innovation, but I think it's something that really pushed something forward in making sure to have the player think on the gameplay and battle mechanics on a deeper level than before, especially in Persona.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think a lot of people would say like, "Oh, this is just like any job system," but I think when you think about what Persona brought to the table as far as mixing in the social elements with the dungeon crawling and RPG elements, I think adding in the archetype system or job system or whatever you want to call it, right, to it, I think doubles down on the strengths of what made Persona stuff great, but also the strengths of what makes job systems in JRPGs great.
Yeah.
To like now have something that is, oh, I am invested a stroll as a character, and I am hanging out with that character in my social time, but I'm also building him towards these things that feel way more complex than we had in any Persona game on the combat side.
And I just the way it all unlocks as well, I think it encourages you to try everything out to unlock like the better version of like the, you know, the masked dancer or whatever, and having all these people kind of, it loops into the gameplay, but it also loops into the story, because that's definitely a Persona thing where like the more you hang out with all of these characters, you're able to unlock certain archetypes in this as well, but also having like a reason to try out all of the kind of different base archetypes as well to get better versions of those, I thought also played another level to it that I really liked.
Our fourth winner for best innovation is the pawn system in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Not an innovation. It already happened in part 1, but this I feel like this was the one where this game sort of had a lot more eyes on it, and this was definitely more of the popular version of Dragon's Dogma, because I don't think part 1 had as many players as part 2 had, and part 2 for me was kind of like kind of eye-opening, because I didn't play a whole lot of Dragon's Dogma 1, but I just had so much fun seeing everybody's created pawns and bringing people into my squad. And so when you play Dragon's Dogma 2, you create your own character in this big fantasy RPG, and then you also create your main pawn. And your main pawn, I created Rebecca Ferguson. She's the love of my life, and she's an awesome wizard warlock. She kicks so much ass. And to be able to, for other players around the world to be able to recruit Rebecca to their squad, and I could set Rebecca out on a job that says like, hey, if you kill 5 of these enemies or whatever, I will get this reward. So if you recruit her to your squad and you kill 5 of those enemies, then I get a reward. And it's a really nice sort of passive way to kind of play the game as well, and just have something else to kind of remember and go, oh, here's these other little additions that I'm getting throughout the game. But I just loved creating Kevin Coelho for Mike and having Kevin Coelho be Mike's pawn, and then recruited Kevin to my squad. And it was awesome just seeing like a 4'5" Kevin Coelho just destroying beasts out there. A lot of fun. And I think they just had a really creative way of, it's a really creative way of seeing everybody's creations and having these weird sort of meme moments where everybody's like, man, nobody's selecting my pawn because he's like not a hot lady. So like, and then like just seeing this sort of like internal struggle of, please pick my guy. Like I need my dude to go out in jobs and get rewards or whatever. It's just a really kind of creative way to have a lot more agency in the game. And with as awesome as a character creator as that was, a really fun way to kind of get creative there as well. I looked at my most played games on my Steam wrap up, and I saw Dragon's Dogma 2 was there twice. I was like, what the fuck? One of them was a character creator because I spent 27 hours in the
That's
character
awesome.
creator.
Jesus
Wow.
Good for you.
That's
Great
awesome.
time.
Our 5th winner for best innovation is the Plucky Squires 2D to 3D gameplay. This is one that was written by the one and only Paris Lilly. But I think we all can speak to it, right? Especially those of us who played the game even deeper, right? From me just playing or just seeing the trailers, but then also playing the preview of it, right? Plucky Squire was not one that I spent too much time with, but is one that like I was always jealous to see when like Andy would talk about it or whoever would talk about it and like talk about, how charming it was, and seeing like that transition from playing this 2D Legend of Zelda game and then playing this 3D game of, wow, like I can't believe a game actually pulled this off, and it is out, right? It is like one that seeing the trailers, I would have been like, there's no way this game actually does this.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that it made it happen.
Yeah, today, on Games Daily talking about the Dice Noms, this Plucky Squire made it for art direction, I believe, and that's what I called out, where, I reviewed it for us, and I thought, gameplay-wise, it was a bit thin in terms of what the game was, but this 2D to 3D, the art's direction, the style of that was impressive. I think my only criticism for best innovation is I feel like it's a little bit like the medium, where I wish we could do it anytime, not specific sections, you know what I mean? And I wish they used it a bit more interestingly, but in terms of the fact that it works, the fact that it looks good, the jumping out of, meeting a new enemy in the book in 2D and jumping out and finding them in 3D, that was always cool.
Congratulations to our winners. Best innovation. That does bring us halfway through our categories, and we're going to continue with our 7th one. But before we get there, I want to tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames, along with Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you can get the Kinda Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial period ends, and then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, you can see all of your subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones you're not using anymore and save more money. Rocket Money has helped multiple members of Kinda Funny learn they were still paying for things that they totally didn't even realize. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/kindafunny today. That's rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. rocketmoney.com/kindafunny.
And we're back. I believe Roger's in the back and Greg's in the back.
Little pee-pee breaks.
Either taking pee-pee breaks or they're getting beers, one or the other, or both. Andy, how are you feeling so far? We're halfway through the Smileys. We're a brainchild.
I love it. We're celebrating video games. We're throwing the love as far and as wide as we possibly can. Blessing. And
It's
world
deep
could use a
also.
little bit more love.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Do we want to stall for a little bit? Because I have some things I could say.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
just a real quick shout out. I was joking earlier, but like I nominated Prince of Persia for style. I do think that's something that I want to speak on just a little bit because
Go for it.
The way that the combat of Prince of Persia kind of adapts the like Marvel versus Capcom style of like ultra moves and just like makes it all feel so perfectly dynamic with the gameplay, I just think deserves a shout out because the anime influence just gets more and more clear as you get further into the game. And I feel like the opening of the game is like the worst part of the game. And I hate that so much. It's not the type of like, you got to get 5 hours in before it gets good. But I do think that the first like 30 minutes just do not do justice to how much style this game has.
I totally agree with that.
And
That's the reason why I didn't continue.
it's upsetting. It really is. But like I'm telling you, like it very quickly fixes that. But yeah, it's. I want to give that a shout out. And I know we don't have the best boss fight category this year, but I just want to say, like, I don't think it's the best in terms of like, oh, it's the most difficult. Definitely not, or any of that. But one of the most satisfying video game moments I had this year was the octopus boss fight in Astrobot. Like that entire level is kind of like why I love video games. The way that the music theme just kind of like builds up in each kind of phase you're going through. The ability you have of the arm style kind of like punch and then like be able to Spider-Man swing. There's just, it's pure joy, pure fun. Love that.
Hell yeah. Well, everybody's back. So let's move on to our 7th category, best character. A character this year that stood out from the pack. Our first winner is Aerith from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This was written in by, I believe, 2 of us. One of them, of course, being Tim Motherfucking Geddes.
Of course.
I think the other one might have been me.
Hey,
yeah, it was me.
It's Aerith's time to shine, right? I feel like this game, Rebirth, long time coming. I think Brianna White's performance of her was fantastic. I think the way that Aerith was written in this game was incredible. And I think that overall, Rebirth, I personally believe, an amazing story. And I don't think that's because the narrative of the plot is the best thing in the world, but I think the characters are just so well defined and so well written and believable. And I think do such a great job of kind of continuing the legacy of Final Fantasy VII, which I've said forever is the Star Wars of video games to me in terms of a cast of characters that I just love and I want to know more about. And Aerith, clearly everybody kind of knows what happens to Aerith in the original. I feel like being able to get more of her in this game, different perspectives to get into her head a bit, a lot more. There's certain sections in this game that kind of deal with her past and deal with her relationships with different characters that I just think is like, man, this is some real good stuff. So overall, shout out to my girl Aerith.
Yeah, I think Aerith is also representative of me for like best cast of characters. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as a cast of characters in this video game, which now that I'm saying that out loud probably should have been a category. But that game has such a good cast. When you talk about Aerith, when you talk about Barrett, when you talk about like, you know, all these different Tifa, Yuffie, whoever, all these different characters who I think get their stories expanded on in really interesting and really emotional ways. Aerith, I think, is the one that probably gets like, you know, the most focus because of where this game takes place in the Final Fantasy VII saga. And the ways in which they highlight her character are so good. One of the things I talk about with the original FF7 remake is like the scene, I'm going to, I guess, spoil like the beginning of FF7 a little bit, but like not really, but the plate falls at some point. I'm sorry. In the scene where the plate falls and like, you know, you follow Barrett's character as he's looking for his daughter and all this stuff. There's an emotion that is conveyed in that character that is so strong. And I would say there are scenes in Rebirth that are equally as emotionally impactful for me with Aerith's character. When I, you know, think about where that character comes from, the soul of that character, what the soul of that character means for Cloud, and like how much that elevates the entire story of the game. That's one that I think is special. And also, she just has a banger theme. Like, come on.
It's just so emotional.
It's so good.
And versatile, man. I love that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was like, fuck it, we can turn any theme into a battle theme, and we're going to.
Yep.
Yeah. Just because we're on Final Fantasy VII, there is no love for Kid G.
Oh, shout out my guy, Kid G.
Yeah,
the homie.
that is true.
Never met that guy.
I fucking hate him so much.
That is an AI generated man.
This is a real character in this game, too.
Parappa the Rapper. No idea who that is.
I'm glad I wasn't alone because I was like, did I not play this game?
No idea who that was.
Oh, he was in the main story, too.
Shit. Yeah, fuck. It was a long
I
time
maybe
ago.
look at
He was
magic
in the
cards with
main
Mike.
That looks like a Roger tattoo. It might be up next.
Yeah, Creed at some point said Mike almost missed what happened to Aerith.
Wow, Mike, God bless you. And he was sending me all those clips.
You know, I had
You were
things,
so
I had
you.
things I was looking at. I was pricing
You send me
things out.
Rizzler memes.
Price out the future.
Our second winner for best character of 2024 is Basilio from Metaphor ReFantasio.
Yeah, Basilio, I imagine I was the only one who wrote this in. I wanted to give a shout out just because I know all the other outlets, when they're talking about their favorite characters, the one that always gets talked about is Heisme. Heisme is obviously like the GOAT. He's like one of the best anime dads. And I know a lot of people thought when I was alluding to my favorite character in fiction in the last like decade or so, a lot of people assumed that was Heisme. No, it was Basilio for me. I love him so goddamn much. There is so much that he goes through. There's so much loss that he goes through. There are so many. I think he goes through the most, and the way he is still able to kind of put on a bright face for his friends and push the rest of the party forward. I just really love in like just a person and a character, and the way he has to process through a lot of the things he goes through. I think it's truly really beautiful. He is like one of my favorite kind of moments in Metaphor as well, which is hard to talk about when it's an 80-hour RPG, and I don't want to spoil it for those who may be watching. But yeah, I love him so much, and just the performance of Basilio. I don't have the actor's name off the top of my head here, but they just had so much fun with him.
Yeah.
Anytime that he's in the party and you bring him from like the second or when it's like his turn and he just goes, I love this pot. I'm just always fucking like hyped up and ready to go. And
Matt Whitechurch.
Yeah, like
or Matt Whitchurch, sorry.
He fucking ate up as Basilio in the performance, and I adore it so much. So that is all I'll comfortably say about this character without getting into too spoilers.
Metaphor is definitely another one that could have been in like the best cast shout out because Metaphor had multiple characters written in. I narrowed it down to one character just for the sake of like trying to represent more games, but also shout out to Louis.
You played through this game.
Luis. But you know, I read that name and it's Louis.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
2 hours
I
from
get it.
St. Louis growing up,
Got
so. But shout out to that character.
Luis is definitely the hottest character of this year.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so fucking
If
hot.
the category was hottest character, yeah.
I feel like it was
him
like,
and Sephiroth.
There's got to be an FF7. Yeah, Sephiroth would be the other one.
They'd be
I mean,
tied.
they're yeah.
Get those two in a room together.
That's a threesome.
Our third winner for best character of 2024 is Ichiban Kasuga from
Who wrote this
Like a
one?
Dragon.
What does that's me. Ichiban Kasuga is the greatest video game character ever created. Like he's just talk about a bright boy. He has went through so much in his history. He was in prison for like 20 years, comes out, he's 42 years old, has nothing going in his life. The Yakuza that he was part of kick him to the curb, and he's just a happy boy. He's like, you know what? He believes in the video game, in Dragon Quest, right? That's the franchise. He loves Dragon Quest, the video games, and he's
I
like,
didn't know that.
he wants to be a hero, like in Dragon Quest. So that's his whole purpose in the game, and that's kind of the reason why it's
Like a dragon.
that's not.
What the fuck?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like a
No,
dragon.
that's not.
Like a Dragon? That-
No, it's not because of Dragon Quest.
It is because of Dragon.
No, it's not. They
Are
were
you
called,
sure?
The games were called Like a Dragon
Originally.
You're right. Fuck.
Fucking Greg.
Almost had you.
Damn.
That was a rumor. Wasn't that a thing for a
No,
while?
that was
though?
a thing though. I remember
Yeah,
talking to
that's
somebody
not
that was
true.
like, yeah,
That's
it's like
not
a
true.
Dragon Quest.
But yeah, Ichiban is an incredible character, and he goes through so much in this game. And it's wild because I could have said Kiryu, because Kiryu is also it's a dual protagonist game, and he goes through fucking so much. But Ichiban is betrayed, he is hurt, he is beaten down, and the ending of this game, oh my gosh, like I can cry talking about it right now. It is so powerful. It is so absolute anime. It is like pushing through and like, you know what? Everyone's shitting on you. Everyone's throwing cans at you, literally, and fucking pushing you down. You're gonna get back up, and you're just gonna go. And it is gorgeous.
Like a Dragon Quester.
Exactly, like,
Like
a Dragon Quest. Like a Dragon Quest.
Damn, somebody got me. Because I definitely,
Beautiful.
I think it was Imran or somebody. Like, I definitely remember having a conversation where I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like a Dragon Quest. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Hey, pass me that blunt, dude.
And Ken Jr. in the chat says Ichiban's positivity reminds me of Mike, and I absolutely feel that way. That's the reason I keep on saying, like, you got to play this game because he is what we all should aspire to be. We should all want to be like Ichiban.
I want to be like Mike.
They made a movie about that.
Buy a suit. Buy a suit jacket.
Not for that much money. Just tell you that right now.
Our fourth,
Priscilla's getting thrown out of Macy's. She tries to sell me a $450 jag.
This may be my favorite one on the list.
our fourth winner
Mario.
of best character of 2024
yeah,
is Hayes from Deadlock.
I like that you found the game because I just put Hayes, just so y'all know.
I had to
Didn't wanna
Google
give you a
Hayes.
name. Yeah. Man, what a character.
I mean, so
You
much
know what
depth.
I mean, so much
Wait,
depth.
I love this, though. This is
Tim,
great.
okay?
This is how you interpret
when
it.
you talk about MOBAs, Tim, you talk about top lane being the strong
Yeah.
one. You talk about bottom lane with the ADC carry, right? Who's going to carry the team? That support role. Who's going to heal the team?
man, I'll tell
and
you.
you talk about mid. Who's that magician that's going to hold
got
down the
mid.
middle? But sometimes you forget about it.
I don't know,
Who
maybe
does
Mike's
the
cooking a
ganking?
little bit. I don't
Okay.
know.
Who carries the jungles? And of
He's
course,
a
in
jungle.
Deadlock, there is no jungle, so we can't really
Yeah.
call this a
No,
jungle
right,
character.
right.
But Hayes would be a jungle character.
Who's gonna be getting
Hayes'
90 kills, you know?
versatility. Hayes was broken for months on end, and I loved playing this character. And so, like, when I think about Hayes, I think about, like, the Daughter of Darkness, right? And so she's got this great
Classic.
moveset of she's got the sleep knife. So when someone's pushing hard up on your lane, you hit them with the sleep knife. Just let them know, back up. Okay, like, chill
Back
out.
the fuck up,
right?
Sam.
And then, of course,
Because her father died in his sleep.
The way Mike is talking makes you think he didn't think this was gonna get picked.
and so, like, then
When I think of Hayes, you know, I think
also-
of the Angel of
She
Darkness.
also has the cloak, so like when you need to go under covers, when you need to surprise somebody and get that other lane gank, you go with the cloak and then you jump out for that extra damage. The third move, of course, is her passive. Every time you get headshots, the guns shoot faster, and she's got two dual
amazing.
SMGs, and these things.
Yeah, those are given to her by her uncle. It's a deep story,
The
Tim.
demon.
Deep
And then, of
story.
course, your ultimate is the cool, just spinning around like you're in Wanted movies, shooting at people like Angelina Jolie. And it's like, what an incredible character, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a cast of characters that are all so unique, so cool, the only one that really stood out was Hayes. And maybe it was the orange. Maybe it was the bright orange. I don't
Maybe.
know.
I do think
There's so many
that
Marvel Rivals
definitely a lot
characters.
of it was that this game, if you didn't know Mike prior to his Deadlock career, you would assume Mike was the best video gamer on the planet because he was always dominating at Hayes. And as soon as somebody else on a random team would pick Hayes first, Mike was just like a different player. It's like, Hayes is so broken in this video game.
This is the magic of the Smileys, right? Is that Deadlock is not nominated for early access, and you had 3 early access choices, but it is nominated for best character.
I was wondering that. I wanted to ask, like, why wasn't Deadlock early access?
forgot
Because
about
we
it.
don't even know. We don't know.
We don't
You
know.
also
It's
forgot.
Alpha.
You
It's
know,
not even
no,
early
no,
access.
There's a whole lot.
We don't
Like,
know.
if you announced
You
it,
know,
about
hitting
Silent
me
Hill
on
2.
Thursday at 5 o'clock, like Mike said.
there's been no trailer for Deadlock.
I forgot about
Like,
it.
it's not on their blog.
It's
Not
incredible.
bad.
We don't know.
Awful.
We don't know. You know, we
Great
don't
character.
know.
Great
Characters
character.
the game's not even out yet. Hayes is won a category.
Great
somehow.
character. I would say I would recommend reading the 2 comic books that they came out with first, and then watch the movie afterwards to get the
If you
full
could,
kind
if
of
you could.
character background.
Our 5th winner for best character of 2024 is Yi from Nine Souls.
God,
Did I say that right? Is it Yi or is it Ya?
Yeah. This
Yi?
guy kicks ass, man. He's the main character in Nine Souls. He's a little dude just hell bent on revenge and goes through so much development throughout the whole game. I love him so much, and the amount of love and care that you slowly see him develop through this whole journey is really awesome. And again, it's really hard to kind of convey that stuff without voice acting and without cutscenes or anything like that. I mean, there's definitely like some cutscenes, but they're not relying on that a whole lot like your traditional sort of video game. But it's still really, really impressive writing, I think, and I really enjoyed his journey throughout. Emotional shit.
Congratulations to our 5 winners of best character of 2024. I want to bring in some super chats before we go to our next category.
Let me get a Coke.
Greg's gonna need a Coke. Demon Hacker, writes in and says, "Isn't Deadlock like early
We
access?"
don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
You gotta get an invite. You go to the Steam page. It doesn't even have
It wasn't a real
play
game
now
for a
button.
little bit.
If you have a friend who has it, Mike, he has to invite you, send you an
Did they ever
email.
officially announce this game?
No.
Where
Yeah,
was
they
my email? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I
Was
never
there a
got
blog
one.
post? Was there like a
Yeah, they
hey,
officially
hey,
announced
come
it.
play this?
What
I
a
think it
fun- what a
just
fun
maybe
to be
because-
tw-
it
tweeted
just
out.
Because a
appeared.
website wrote about it and then they got mad.
That was so awesome.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Shout out to
That-
Mark.
that's a
Shout out
moment
to
of
Mark.
2025.
Yeah, who was that?
That
Was
should
it-
be a category. It's like the best moment. That's my favorite moment.
that
Just
would've
like,
been a
it's
great
like
category.
Valve released
Yo,
the
send me all
fucking.
these categories for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, best moment of the
Oh,
year.
I said Tom Marks. It wasn't Tom Marks. It was
It was Tom Warren. Tom
Yes,
Warren.
Tom
Yes.
Warren.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey man,
We
I
didn't sign the
anything."
NDA.
So good.
and they're like, "Hey man, you swore." Be cool, man.
Hey man, you promised.
Do this. 20,000
really
people are playing
chill
the game
about
right
it.
now. You can't talk about it.
You looked me in the eye and promised. I can't believe you do this to me.
Another super chat we got is from Sort by First Name, who says, Ichiban Kasuga is my best character of 2024. RGG games don't get enough love in awards.
Absolutely.
Mellow Fellow says, shout out to Persona 3 Reload. Metaphor is awesome, but as someone who played Persona 3 for the first time this past year, man, what a game. And then Lucid Dream writes in and says, best DLC shout out, Helldivers 2, Omens of Tyranny.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna vote Storm as best character from Marvel Rivals.
Oh, yeah.
Good, cool character.
Real neat.
Storm or Sue Storm? Just
Storm, yeah.
I guess Sue Storm was in 2024.
Wow.
so.
Right, yeah. Different year. She'll get nominated next year.
Got great cosmetic.
Yeah.
Our next category.
Easy to look.
Got that dumper.
Holy shit.
Our next category is Best Story, the game that displayed outstanding storytelling and writing. Our first winner of this category is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with 2 write-ins. Who wants to start?
Whoever that's not me.
Did I vote for this? I don't know what I put.
Listen, I don't know what I put either. I'm like trying. I'm pulling up the thing right now. The 2 people that wrote in this were. It was Mike. Mike, you wrote this.
Oh, shit. I wrote this. Especially because I was like, I'm lost. So, you know, like, we went on a big
stopped
journey.
paying attention
I was
to the
really
story.
lost at the end of it all. Tim, there's a moment in the end of Final Fantasy 1.
He also
or Final
said they
Fantasy
lost
7
me.
Remake.
He was like,
And,
they lost me.
I knew where I was, okay? I knew where we were going. I could at least guess. Then in this one, there's so many branching paths. You don't know which way is up. You don't know what's real, what's not real. But I do know what's real. Barrett never called his daughter, never checked in on her one time throughout an 80-hour experience. And that's pretty fucked up,
It is
okay?
really fucked
He
up.
left her behind. And you know what? Other people had to come in and become her father, and that's good for them. You know what I mean? Other people stepped up to take care of this girl, Marlene, and I'm really proud of that. You know what
So
I mean?
best story for you, Mike.
And so, like, the story, what a beautiful story, right? Like, how cool. We leave Midgard.
beautiful.
We go out to this beautiful world that I didn't know about, and we just get lost in the fun from the awesome boat cruise that we had that had a lot of fun. There was a lot of Gwent. What's the card game?
Oh my
Queen's Blood.
God.
Queen's Blood. Queen's Blood
For the
was
record,
fun.
remember, I've only played the
Cloud-based
prologue of
Rebirth.
this. Couldn't identify
this man's
Queen's
talking about
Blood
boat
at
was
Goose.
fine, you know what I mean?
Couldn't
Not as
identify
good as
Queen's
Gwent's.
Blood off a fucking board.
And so we
Jesus
play a lot of
Lord.
Queen's Blood. Then we get to Costa del Sol. We see my main man, Johnny. Shout out to Johnny. He's not the cat man. So we found out now that Johnny didn't turn into the cat man. Very pleased with that.
When do I
Of
see
course,
Parappa the Rapper?
Hojo shows up and he's like, snap, I got these cute girls with me and I'm going to cause a problem at the beach. And you're like, Hojo, no.
He's not beating the
And then
accusations.
You battle Hojo. Then you go up to the tippy top and we find out that Barrett, he sold out his people, bro. It was pretty messed
Fucked
up
up.
that he sold his hometown to
Spoiling
let
it.
them go out
Yeah,
there.
you're
Well, I'm going to stop. I mean, you know, well, yes, what's the story? I'm giving you the story about how this is going to go.
Nobody
You know what I mean? So, fantastic story. All you need to know is fantastic story. Lost me at the end, though. Magic cards took over.
I do love that when I showed everybody the clip of me getting mad at Mike for not paying attention during the most critical cutscene of the whole video game. Mike said, well, it lost me. You know, the game lost me. So for him to put this on here, I'm really proud of him. You know,
He came to his senses. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of character development.
Yeah,
I
he
needed
came
about
to something.
4.5 hours of recap videos to watch. Yeah.
This is a tough category for me because I think there were a lot of really good contenders, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth definitely was one. And it did come down to like the ending losing me a little bit of like why I might have put something else above it. But even still, for me, when I think about the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I don't necessarily think of the journey because the journey. We can talk about the journey because you kind of
journey continues.
You kind of end where you start in the journey, if I'm being honest. But I do think about the characters, right? This kind of goes back to my best character conversation as far as like the cast and like the moments of the game. This game has moments for days, right? This game has a moment that like had me like, you know, my fist balled up on my desk, like holding back emotion just for the fact that like, man, I can't believe Cloud is getting this moment, right? Like so many times in which, you know, characters, the character work in this game did justice to the fact that, you know, not only are you telling a story that needs to, I think, do its characters justice and like allow them to have their moments, whether it be Red 13, whether it be these things that I don't want to spoil, even though it's an old game, whether it be that or whether the game is thinking about me as a fan, right? Or even not just me, somebody like Tim Geddes as a fan of this forever and thinking about the fact that Tim Geddes has investment in maybe Cloud and Tifa or Cloud and Air or whatever these things
Every
are.
combination.
Every combination
Yeah.
of every one of these characters. The game speaks to those people so strongly and I think does justice by that. And like, it's one of those ones where for as much as I enjoyed this game, playing it as part of my first Final Fantasy VII journey because I never beat the original Final Fantasy VII. I am still, I wish I played the original just so I can love it that much more.
Yeah, as somebody that has been there from the beginning and like with not just the game, but the movies and the world and the spinoffs and every single thing, the theorizing and all of it, like this story to me continues to deliver, continues to make me ask questions, continues to give me new things to ponder. And at the end of the day, like story's not plot. I feel like the plot of this game might not be the best, sure. But I think the story of the characters, the dynamics, the backstory that they all have, like Mike bringing up everything Barrett goes through, I think is so powerful and incredibly well presented in this game. And I feel like to me the story of Rebirth is incredible if the plot is not.
Yeah, and even on top of that, right? Like I respect and appreciate a game or a story that might be an adaptation, that might be a remake or whatever it is that bathes in the source material, and this game bathes in the source material. You took I don't even know how many hours I would say this is in the first game, but you somehow made 80 hours of it, and you were in that shit, right? You lived that shit.
The investment that I have in the world and in the characters and the dynamics between all of those things, it's unrivaled, I think, compared to maybe any other game.
Yes.
What are you doing, Greg? What are you?
It just occurred to me that we're in perfect pairs. Like everyone is like alt skins for each other. Like you got the two suit jackets and the gold chains, the two t-shirts under blazers, the two collared shirts under blazers. We're all like lined up in like I'm buttoned and you guys are unbuttoned. It's just like nobody planned this.
Oh my God, even the chains.
Yeah, the chains. Yeah. It's like a very weird.
Go fight
And those are both from Macy's. Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Our second winner of Best Story of 2024 is Metaphor ReFantasio. This is another entry that had two people write in.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is me and Barrett.
Yes.
I want to take this
I
up.
don't think so.
Oh, maybe not.
No.
The magical person that said Metaphor.
I played the demo.
No, you didn't vote twice.
Wait, for Best Story? No, Bear, you wrote it in for Best Story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
All right.
But I want to take it off and just say, I'm going to be honest. I still have not finished this game. I'm at the very, very ending. Probably have 5 hours left. But it's a story that has affected me so deeply. Just went through a rough time over the break, and this game, it's one of those things that just pulled me out of the darkness, right? It inspires me. It makes me emotional talking about it and watching trailers even. It's a special video game that I did not expect to hit me, and it's that group of characters, right? Like those people and those that squad that you have that really rises, and also just the twists and turns. And I want to talk spoilers, but I won't. But what your main character becomes is such a great metaphor for reality, and also where I want to be in my life, and how I want to grow as a human, right? And it's beautiful. It's some beautiful stuff, and that's all I'll say. I love it.
Yeah, there's so many, like every game that this team has made before, there's so many different themes, character arc stories that you could pull from to talk about. But I think the thing that doesn't get talked about enough, because I think a lot of people focus on the kind of core narrative plot thing of it being like this a big election and you winning over the will of the people over the course of a year. But the other kind of meta narrative thing that really grabbed me that we talked about in our spoiler cast and in our review is the developers kind of thinking about what makes art successful, and is art successful when it sells 1 million copies of a video game or of a DVD or whatever, or is art truly successful when it inspires people to, or challenges people to look at what is important to them in life and their ideals, and challenges them and pushes them to live out those ideals in the real world. And a lot of that is fiction truly important, and can fiction change reality? All of that stuff really worked for me in big ways, and where all that goes in the meta narrative, I think is fucking awesome. So I just wanted to give that a quick shout out.
Personally, 20 hours in, I would put this on Best Story. I think Metaphor's story is
I'm so proud of you that you're 20 hours
utterly
in.
captivating. I don't think I'm going to see this through just because the gameplay of it all isn't my thing, but the story of it, it's incredible. If this was an anime, I would watch the anime for sure.
Our third winner of Best Story of 2024 is 1000 times resist, which I assume Barrett thought it was the one that he
Yeah,
wrote
because I know
in.
the list, so I thought I voted for this one.
No,
But is
this was me. I
I thought
voted
this was
for
me.
this
Oh
one.
shit.
Oh shit!
I mean, unless maybe I'm wrong. Hold on, let me double check.
It should have been all three of us. Let's be honest.
No, I was the one who voted
Okay,
1000
damn.
times resist. Yeah, and like I mean, the 3 games that are listed here already are like would be in contention for my top 3 of when I talk about best stories 2024. And the reason why 1000 times resist for me elevates above is like I mentioned before, right? Final Fantasy VII made me feel. Right, that game made me feel emotions just because I not that I identified with the characters, but like I felt for those characters. I love those characters. I love what they went through together. Metaphor ReFantasio, I would say like made me think. Like that's the game that I think dives so well into its subject matter and so well into like the politics and how it goes about like its depiction of an election and like a fantasy world's version of an election. 1000 times resist is the game that made me do both, and I think that is why it elevates above, and it made me do both deeply. Right, like I mentioned earlier in the show, it's a game that, you know, by the time I finished it, by the time I got later into it, like I felt anger. Like I felt anger for the system. I felt like I wanted to resist. I wanted to go do something, right? But like, you know, it's also a game that I think tackles its subject matter so interestingly. Like Barrett gave the premise as far as, you know, you are this there is a character who essentially like is basically Ellie from The Last of Us, right? Like she is the immune one, or like she is not immune might not even be the right word, but she is like the sole survivor of like an apocalyptic event essentially, and like that leads into like cloning and very interesting like sci-fi type like subject matter, and they take that and put it into such interesting contexts and really ask questions and pushes shit. And the biggest compliment I can give this game, talking about, we were on KHD yesterday, or no, we were on Gamescast yesterday. It was me and Mike, and we were talking about this game Mouthwashing. One of my complaints with Mouthwashing is like it gets to a point where that game gets so trippy. And one of the things that I don't necessarily love in fiction as much, and this is a me personal thing, is like when shit gets so trippy that like I can't really, not that I can't follow the narrative, but things are happening that I don't necessarily give a fuck about, right? Like, okay, I'm walking in circles. Okay, the world's flipping in on itself. Okay, like this shit is happening and it's a dream sequence. Like that's where shit loses me oftentimes when that shit happens so much. 1000 times resist does that shit where it's like, what the fuck is happening? But it didn't lose me. Like I was on the ride the whole time.
And you get your answers pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and
like,
that's one
it
thing I
has
really
answers
appreciate
for all that
about
shit.
it.
And it navigates that stuff so well.
I don't know
So-
if my nomination made the list, because I know we try to limit them to 5. But I mean, fucking throw me in for 1000 times resist, because I loved this
Hell
story,
yeah.
and I think if you're somebody who doesn't want to look deeper than just the surface level sci-fi story, which I think is interesting and enough on itself, but dealing with all the familial type of relationship stuff with the main character and her parents and the dynamics that they have there, and them being them fleeing a country and trying to go somewhere else, and being in this place that they're brand new to and they don't feel like they are welcome. It's so well done in every sort of aspect of what it's trying to do storytelling wise.
Yep. Our 4th winner of best story is Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Greggy, are you?
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, you didn't do. You don't remember what you did? Did you put this one in there?
No, I'm pretty sure I don't know.
I can tell you what you did. 'Cause it didn't make it. It was you did 9 souls.
Oh no. Okay, got you.
Sure, yeah, I put Dragon Age: The Veilguard in here. Well known that I loved it. It's the story that connected with me the most this year. I think what's impressive, of course, is that I'm not a Dragon Age person, and I'm not. I guess I'm a little bit more than I used to be, but I'm not a fantasy person either. I found that this cast of characters that you were going about and recruiting was so good. I think it was good enough to put it, set the stakes right away. It was excellent to get us in there and give us a cast of characters to go through in towns and cities that were actually mattered and things were going on that I enjoyed. The relationships I made with all my side characters as I ran through the decisions on who to romance, sure, but then the answers to that, the relationships that came from the people I didn't romance, I loved all that, let alone there's a kind of a Sixth Sense thing at the end they do, right, a gotcha moment that I didn't see coming that leads to a cool thing that leads to a giant fight and stuff. Like I had a great time. I was in the whole time. It's one of those games I look back so fondly of enjoying every moment, not only from the gameplay but from the story side too.
Yeah, had I not beaten 9 souls, Bellar probably would have been my best character.
Yeah.
Loved her story, loved her development, everything about her.
Yeah, I shot out Tosh, but I didn't make the cut on that one for my favorite character. of the year.
Remember Tosh Bueno. Our 5th winner of best story in 2024 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This is one that I believe was a Paris Lily write-in. Yeah, and I can speak
Really?
Yeah. Well, let me double check. I believe it was a Paris Lily one. Yeah, it was Paris Lily.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking on not even his behalf, I guess my own behalf. Like, I can't believe how well of an Indiana Jones experience this is from a cinematic presentation and like a story perspective, right? Like, if you like stitch these cutscenes together and handed it
Sure,
over to me, it
sure.
might be a top 3 Indiana Jones movie. Like, it is that
honestly
good.
top 2
Honestly,
for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Troy Baker as Indy. His depiction is so good that there was a part where like I had the thought of, oh man, Harrison Ford. I don't know if I liked Harrison's like delivery here, and then I remembered that it wasn't Harrison. Then I remember it was Troy, and I was like, fuck, that's Troy Baker as Harrison as Indiana Jones. Like, that is so impressive. But yeah, the moment to moment, like I think one of the things that kept me in the game was the fact that I felt so Indiana Jones playing this game, and so much of that is the globetrottiness of it, going from the Vatican to Egypt to wherever you go later, right? Like, I love the game for that stuff, and so shout out Indiana Jones.
I think it's very impressive that at the end of it, you know, doing kind of the same things that the movies does, but it hitting on the same level as the movies. Like the kind of last hour of this game hit in a way that brought me back to watching Last Crusade for the first time, and I was like, God damn, Indiana Jones is actually sick as hell, and I like didn't give him his due and talking shit about this game for years and years. Mike, give it to me.
Indy.
All right, acceptable.
Congratulations, our best story winners of 2024. Congratulations. Our next category is Best Surprise, the game that came out of nowhere and or exceeded your expectations. Our first winner of this category is Helldivers 2.
Oh, what a great lead off to this.
With 2 write-ins.
Yeah.
I believe, does anybody, it was Greg and Andy, I
Yeah.
believe.
I
Go
mean,
for
a
it.
game that we left the studio and was like,
Yeah, we went and previewed
it's
it on
gonna be
PlayStation.
okay. Yeah, it's probably going to be good for a little while, but what a surprise that it just resonated much. And I think mainly what we didn't get from that preview was that there was just so much more fun to be had with the overall world, and that's why I think we were a bit down on the preview.
Yeah, we weren't down as much as it was like, okay, cool, it's going to be Helldivers 1 brought into this new perspective, right? And on a new platform. And it was when we played it, but we did the thing where we ran with Arrowhead, and it was just being inundated with information. And so it was more the E3 callouts of like, all right, let's flank left and do this. Oh, here come the automatons. They're dangerous. So we need to, and they're like just ba ba ba, rather than what it is Helldivers is supposed to be.
Let this
you get out there
organic
with
stuff.
3 of your friends and nobody knows what they're getting crushed by things. The bugs spitting on you. This is going on. And so to see that they kept that fun and anything goes nature and anything can happen nature of Helldivers 1 and 9 years later, right, are able to put it out Helldivers 2, and have it be ready to go and have that fun but look better, be bigger, be all these different things, let alone the fact that it's the only PlayStation live service game that fucking dominated this year and was great. Hell yeah, like the Helldivers 2 surprised me because again, as somebody who loved Helldivers 1 and played so much of it on Vita and played so much of it, was just I was expecting to have a good time with this. I wasn't expecting this to be a hit, right? Like you look at my games I've talked about so far, I'm the guy who gets to say things and everybody looks at me and goes, okay, and we move on because nobody else liked the things I liked this year. So the joke was when Helldivers 2 was the biggest thing and I was playing it and we were all streaming it every day for 8 hours, I kept saying on Games Daily, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm obsessed with this game and so's the world. That never happens. It never happens that way. Huge surprise.
Yeah. One that like I would never have been able to guess, right? I think this encompasses this category so well of Helldivers 2 being the sequel to Helldivers 1 and thinking what Helldivers 1 was, which was a great game and a success, right? But like one that I only knew because Greg Miller talked about it and to get here. And yeah, like you mentioned, the whole world loves it and it is one of the biggest games of the year. The fastest selling PlayStation game of all time.
Get in a movie.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Getting a movie announced. Yeah, like absolutely nuts.
Congrats.
Our second winner of the best surprise of 2024 is I Am Your Beast. This one had 2 write-ins.
Oh.
I believe it was the both of us.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah, let me
Look
tell
at
you,
us.
this game fucks.
Yeah, dude. This came out of nowhere, literally came out of nowhere. It was just like, oh, it's announced. This trailer looks cool. How's it actually going to play? And it scratched that neon white itch for me. I'm just replaying every level, trying to get S rank, and I did. I S ranked every single level. Not the challenge rooms, it's too far. I know they added more levels too, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not. You know what I mean? I did
what I needed.
I did what I needed to. But yeah, just obsessed with it. It's such the fact that this game was developed in I think less than a year, like, is insanity. Like, it is so tight. The graphics and the style is incredible. There's a story going on that is cool. I didn't really fall in love with it, but I love the presentation of it with this incredible voice acting and this awesome typography going on. It is just style, right? It is a first person. I would say close to like a Hotline Miami type deal. It's not one hit you're dead. It's more of like a few hits you're dead, but still, it is tight. It is Twitch action, and it's great. It's a great time.
You mentioned the story, like, not necessarily being like the highlight, right? But like, I think the story is in service to the gameplay in such a good way where it is almost more about the vibes. The story, like the cutscenes are not long, right? They're very short, and they're just setting up each mission, and it's like cool ass dialogue talking on a radio phone, and like I really liked what was happening. Like, I'd never nominate this for best story, but like it's still good stuff though. Like, you're still getting good stuff out of those dialogue exchanges between your character and the other characters. And yeah, like, I can't believe this is a Xalavier Nelson joint, and I played El Paso Elsewhere when that came out, and I really liked it. And I can't believe that on top of that, he puts out a bunch of games, which is crazy.
They're doing a TMNT game soon. Like,
He's doing the
crazy
TMNT
stuff.
game soon. He did
He's writing on Borderlands 4.
Borderlands 4. He did the click holding game, I believe.
Also
And he
this year.
did like
That's
he's
fun.
done a few other things as well. I can't believe when I play this game, it plays as well as, like, honestly, like, not only any other like very well made indie game, but when I play the shooting in this game, like, you could have tricked me and told me that a big developer like worked on this for how good the shooting
And it's
feels.
lenient enough where you are getting those headshots when you really don't deserve the headshots, but it's perfect. Like, it gives you that like kind of like that cycle of like you're shooting, you're feeling like you're good, and oh no, I missed that one thing. I can go back. I can do that better. It's awesome.
We have a best studio section coming up at some point,
Yes.
right? Best studio. I fucked up by not putting Strange Scaffold.
That's a great call.
Yeah, this is one that, like, it's my favorite one of Strange Scaffolds so far. Like, it is a very special game that I'll recommend anybody play if you like these types of games. Our third winner of Best Surprise is Nico Dorico, The Magical World.
Oh man, any chance I get to talk about Nico Dorico, The Magical World, I'm going to. Worst named video game of all time for something that is like truly, truly incredible. It's the best surprise for me because I said this when I reviewed the game a couple months back, but I saw this game on Twitter get announced a while ago, and it was like, all right, this is cool. I'm going to put it on my wish list, and I don't believe I'm ever actually going to play it because it just has that look to it where it's like, all right, cool. It's a mix of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze with Crash Bandicoot 4, but it is on modern consoles. So you're getting actual great resolution and frame rates and stuff. Nintendo could never. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, this is either going to get shut down by somebody because of how much it is just copying the things that I said, or it's just way too ambitious for a small team, so it's not actually going to come out. And then, lo and behold, one day I pull up my Twitter and people are like, oh, the game's out. And I'm like, it's out now? Like, the full game. What? And I played through it, and I was, like, blown away. This game is incredible. If you like any of the platformers I mentioned, you should definitely check it out. It is coming soon to all consoles, if it's not already available there. When I played it, it was on a weird set of systems. I played it on PlayStation, but it wasn't on Switch or it wasn't on Steam. There was something weird about
Epic.
it that I was surprised
Epic.
about. But anyway, very, very good game.
I didn't realize it was co-op. That's awesome.
And yeah, you can
I'm gonna
also
play
do
that.
co-op. Yeah.
Okay.
I have it downloaded on something. I think it's Switch because I think it recently came to Switch. And so,
Y'all are gonna love this game. Like, the worst parts about it are the name and the main character designs are like a little uninspired. But that's really it.
No, they're not. They're going towards a specific audience. I feel like with the characters,
and they
design.
deserve
Let's
video
be-
games.
Yes, and they deserve video games. But also, Blessing, you're not allowed to play this game until you've played Tropical Freeze.
And I think
You know what?
that
That's
is
fair.
too.
That is
Yeah.
very fair. I understand that. Our fourth winner for Best Surprise of 2024 is Batman Arkham Shadow.
Oh.
A
Yeah,
very
no.
good pick for this one.
You know, the journey I've had where y'all filmed me watching the trailer for this and just not being enthused, and more so not being enthused by WB's handling of the Batman Arkham IP, but really like Camouflage showing up and actually showing that they understand what makes the Arkham not games and just design, but just lore and world so special, and they really fired on all fronts and were able to adapt it to a different platform, a VR setting, and translated that so well and brought their own twists and turns on like a Batman Arkham formula that I think fit for the story that they were telling. And I said this on the review of like, if WB ever wakes the fuck up and or like, oh shit, we need to make another like the flat screen Arkham game. I think there's a lot that could be learned from this game if like Rocksteady ever goes back to Arkham. And yeah, I was really fully impressed by it. Like I was like going into it expecting like, all right, it'll be the 5th best Batman Arkham game that's like a full release, right? And it's like, I think it's better than Origins. I think it's like tighter and has a better like vision of what it does. And honestly, I don't know if it has a better story than Origins, because Origins story I would say is like up there in terms of the entire series, but like they did some really special stuff, and the way they tell the story is utterly fantastic. My only critique is that there's some flashback cutscenes, and maybe this is just a platform thing. Greg, maybe you can answer this for me. Or it's like a cutscene would start and be like, oh, this is like an artistic choice to be in black. And then I'd turn around and be like, oh, the fucking scene's over here. Cool.
No, that's funny.
That's like my only major criticism with it. But besides that, like,
Keep your head on a
hell
swivel.
yeah.
Keep your head on a swivel out there, Barry.
And I love that they brought the Origins cast back for this, right? Like Troy Baker coming back, Craig Smith coming back, and like reminding me of like how fucking good he is as a young
Batman and Bruce Wayne.
But in particular, why am I blanking on the actor's name?
Kevin Conroy.
Yes, like being a young Kevin Conroy Batman, he is just so goddamn.
I get so much FOMO hearing this because this game is made for me. I'm such an Arkham Origins guy. Like, I love that game so much. This sadly is a game that cemented I just can't do VR. Like, I just don't have the space for it, and I just don't have the stomach for it. Like, and that
How
just
much
sucks.
did you play with the accessibility stuff?
Oh, I played all the time. I was just punching things in my wall. I was like, almost punched my cat a few times. I was like, okay, I can't.
Yeah,
be
No, I'm talking about with your stomach, like in
Yeah,
terms
yeah, I
of
did.
okay.
I still did. It was just like it was just
Still
not
punches
working.
Yeah, like
Yes.
when I didn't
Set it
turn
off.
on the like when it like the default is just like having the full screen on all the time,
Yeah.
and then turning on like the like what is it, the focus?
Yeah, the
thing
vignette
where-
or whatever.
The vignette when you move, like turning that all the way up helped me so goddamn much. So
Yeah.
I'm
just
not
makes me
vomiting.
Ah, shit.
Our 5th winner for best surprise is. I'll just say
Fucking
it
damn
is Deadlock.
Yeah.
I think this might be our strongest category. Like, of just
Yeah.
like everything here. I'm like, oh yeah, these
That
are
was
all
a surprise.
surprising
Did
in
you put
different
this?
ways.
No.
Did I put this?
Probably.
I probably did.
No one else would have.
Maybe I did.
Paris.
I put
Yeah,
Helldivers
this was
too.
you, Mike.
You know what? It's something special. There's very few games that can just suck the time and daylight out of you, and that's what Deadlock did. And it's very few games that can step into such a crowded and competitive genre as a MOBA, right? And do something totally different. To step into the MOBA world and say, hey, we're going to make a third-person hero shooter in this and make it really, really good. It was awesome. I love Deadlock. I like the style that they did. I really love the map. I love that we were invited to, and then other friends got invited to. I like the secrecy of it all, and then I like how we just kind of popped the top, and now we're playing it. But
Yeah.
the gameplay, moment to moment, it is the game of the year when I think of one more game. Run it back. Let's go again.
That's awesome.
The complexity of all of the heroes, the buy stations. It is League of Legends. It's Dota. It's Smite, but with a third-person shooter, and that is so well done and not hard to do. But I'll tell you what, I can't wait for this game to make a splash. I hope it is big and better than ever. It's so much fun.
I need to hop back in for sure. Great time.
Congratulations to our best surprise winners. Yeah. I do want to give like a shout out to Marvel Rivals, which I think would have been a shoe in here too, for the fact that that game was announced and released this year. And
Yeah,
like,
that was also one we reacted to, and we're like, all right, let's see if this game actually.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
shit.
Legitimately, like I feel like for best surprise, like I'll never forget all of us gathering around
Yep.
Greg's desk and being like, "Let's see this new Marvel game." And NetEase pops up, and we're like,
Yeah, we
And then you see
all
the
rolled our
gameplay, and you're
eyes.
like,
and
oh.
we're all like, "Wait a minute,
it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
wait!" And
They
like,
might- they
here
might
it
be
is
able to
now,
played within
like,
a few
what
weeks,
story.
and it's like, fuck, so fun.
I want to bring in a super chat from Eric Black, who didn't write in any text, but did give a $50 super chat.
Whoa.
Yeah, shout out
Thank
to
you so
Eric
much.
Black.
Thanks for
They gave
supporting.
like a little emoticon of a little, it looks like a hippo guy in a treasure chest.
Hippo with sunglasses inside of a box.
Yeah.
That's what I read on the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate that. I mean,
just knew
that is
that.
awesome. Thank you so much for that super chat. I know you didn't specifically do it for this reason. Maybe you did, but I do want to give a shout out to. I know y'all might be watching this and be like, oh, they do shows every day and they do this stuff. There's extra work put in, and like Andy made these assets and stuff, and like we had to test it, make sure things look good. Like there's just like an extra level of production that isn't just as easy as like, oh, make a thing and put it on the thing. It's like there's testing and there's time and there's a lot of love put into this stuff. So I appreciate you all understanding that because
Mike bought a
this shit's
$450
really cool.
suit.
Yeah, Mike went hard.
For you, blessing anything. Tim, I'm sorry.
Don't blame me.
Don't
I
blame me.
appreciate it.
I was going to
love
say
it.
a lot of work put in, and then everybody just forgets what they nominated.
That's
There's
kinda
so
funny,
many good
baby.
games that we all like. You're like, I get. What does that mean?
Well, it's also because Blessing had to smartly use a Google Docs like submission thing,
Yeah.
but that means that I can't just look back at Slack and be like, "What did I send
Yeah,
Bless
yeah,
for these
yeah,
answers?"
Yeah,
That makes
because the
sense.
way you guys vote for Game of the Year, you guys just Slack me, so
Yeah.
you can easily just be like, "Oh, this is my list." Yeah. I also nominated my things like a month ago, so I truly don't remember.
Our next category is best card game. This is a 2024 specific category. I forget who. I think somebody brought up like, oh man, we don't have best boss fight. I think it was somebody in chat that was like, oh, no best boss fight. It's because like this year I try to think of things that fit the year. Like last year, 2023 was such a big year for like Souls-like type games and action type games and games that had really good boss fights in them. I try to think of what encompasses 2024, and I felt like there's a lot of card games
We're the cards.
that we got
Part of the
into this
cards.
year. And
Plus,
so
Mesmer from Elden Ring would have won anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
so
And,
that's awesome.
you know, if we had the
Congratulations,
chance,
Mesmer.
like we would have nominated some from Nine Souls too.
That's true. That is true.
honestly, as we
Wow,
talked through
that's
these
right.
games, I would have been like, I thought that like, man, actually this year there were a lot of good boss fights, but
Yeah, there were.
it is what it is. Our first winner of best card game of 2024 is Queen's Blood.
Oh, so fun.
Let's fucking go!
Yeah. This had three
Come
votes. 3 people voted for this one.
Yep.
Who wants to start?
Queen's Blood is the best part of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm not afraid to say
He's
it.
fucking right. He's so right.
It should be broken out into its own game. It's crazy that we're a year away from Rebirth and it has not been broken out as its own game. Like Witcher 3 figured that shit out of like, oh, people really fuck with Gwent. Let's make that its own thing. It is like even with how big of a release that I'm sure we'll talk about as well on this list, Balatro, like Queen's Blood fucks in terms of strategy, in terms of just like how fun all of the different like party compositions can be and stuff. And it's like it's one of those things, seeing y'all play Magic in the last couple of months, I'm like, yeah, I get it because I got into Queen's Blood, but it's like I'm already into Queen's Blood. I'm just waiting for that. I don't need to get into another game. Yeah, I adore it so much, and yes, it is the best thing of Rebirth, and it is definitively the best card game of this year.
I feel like to make a Mean Girls reference, right? Like there's the quote of like, stop trying to make fetch happen. Like you're trying to make fetch happen. There have been so many examples of like RPGs or big games that they try to have a card game. They try to have a mini game. What was the one in Horizon?
Machine Strike.
We'll make a PlayStation blog post about Machine Strike. like you guys know, like, oh, there's a board game you can play in this game. Like these games keep trying to make fetch happen. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth made fetch happen.
Yeah.
Like this is the best card game in a video game since Gwent, and a lot of developers have been trying to chase that. But it's so crazy how from the first
Comments on Machine Strike. Machine Strike fucking sucks. Machine Strike sucks straight ass for real.
people really hate Machine Strike, goddamn. But like, I can't believe from the get go of I don't remember if it was the first game of Gwent or not Gwent, sorry, of Queen's Blood or the second. All I know is that early on I was like, oh, y'all got something.
When I first got to preview Rebirth, actually second time we got to preview Rebirth, I got to play for like 5 hours, and it was essentially the opening of the game. Not the very, very opening, but like a bunch of it. And when we get to Calm and you get to the part where you start playing Queen's Blood, I remember just you talking about the make fetch happen thing. It was like that where I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
Like let me skip this stuff. Like I want to keep going. I want to get to the battle. Like I know what I want from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it's not this freaking card game. And immediately I was like, oh shit. The way they have it set up of like you beat one of them and you're like, oh wait, there's a couple other people in this little town that I can face off against. It feels like there's like story implications to this. And the way that the
It
Queen's
turns
Blood
into a Yu-Gi-Oh story.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
exactly. And Mike talking about the cruise ship, it's like the way they handle the Queen's Blood story on the cruise ship in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm like, damn y'all
So
did
fun.
something special.
Such a good time.
1000%. Our next winner of the best card game category is Balatro. Let's see who. I think this.
How you want to talk it to death again?
Yeah, this is one that was only written in by Paris Lilly, but I'm sure most of us here
We
agree. Yeah, we talked about it before, but like the fact that this game can just like spark addiction like nothing, like nothing else, right? Taught me what the poker hands were, but also like we talk about how the fact that when this was nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, you saw the immediate wave of people being like, "What? This fucking card game? How is this nominated with Black Myth and all these other games?" And then like the next week, it was like slowly people discovering Balatro and being like, "Oh, I'm sorry, like this shit."
I wasn't
like,
familiar
this
with
shit
your
is
game.
great." Exactly. Our third winner of the best card game category is Pokemon TCG Pocket, which I'll be honest wasn't gonna make it until I wrote it in. I think I was like either the second to last person to vote when. Actually, I forget where I came in on the votes, but like I was the only person that wrote in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And like this is one that I think, as far as time accumulated playing a card game, I think this got that from me. I'm still every single day opening this up, opening packs,
ripping packs,
and like there's a Blastoise event happening right now, and like it's taken over my phone to where now as I'm getting ready for work during the morning, like if I'm taking a shower, put that thing on autoplay. If I get like once I get out of the shower, tee up another autoplay while I brush my teeth, right? Like that, like it really is like I think it was Kevin on the ones and twos a few days ago talking about this. If they were somehow mining Bitcoin using this app, they would have gotten so much Bitcoin out of me. Like it's one of them ones where I just constantly have it open, and it's a problem, but I absolutely love it.
It tears me apart. I don't want to give this game any award, period. Like, just period. Like, there's so much things that I'm like, you're messing this up. I don't like the way you're monetizing this. I don't like the way that you're wasting my time here.
Oh,
I have so much bad things to say, but I fucking love this game. And I play it every day, and I'm
Yeah.
addicted to it. Like, this game is a problem, I think, in every single way possible. But yeah, shout out to them for taking over my life, but also, like, come on, guys. Come on.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's the thing is like I think about the card games that I played in the last year. Like there are better playing games as far as like rules. There are better presented games as far as flair. There are better like collectible card games that I've found. Magic the Gathering, right? Like there's so many other games that have caught my interest in greater and better ways. But for some reason, I keep coming back to this one, and it's because of the fucking Pokemon.
It's the magic of Pokemon, man. Gotta catch them all.
Speaking of, our fourth winner of the best card game of 2024 is Magic the Gathering. This is a Greg Miller write-in.
Well, throw it up. Who would have known? Who would have thought Magic the Gathering is a good game? But just like all of your careers, and working here at Kind of Funny, you can trace it back to Ghostbusters. Thank God they had me reveal these Ghostbuster cards so I could finally understand what Magic was when Mike got excited about it, when Blessing got excited about it, and then to have it take over here, right? If you're going to talk about 2024 in card games, obviously Balatro, obviously Pokemon, but I think for Kind of Funny, especially for the Smileys, you got to talk about Magic.
Yeah.
Because that was just such a great stream where me and Blessing live on the air fall in love with Magic, and Blessing takes it to another level by becoming super obsessed and having free time to really, really, really get into it. Yep. But even me playing Arena when I can, wanting to play at Thanksgiving, wanting to continue to learn, and then Mike's passion for Magic reignited, right? And going through and how great Foundations is, which did launch this year, right? Of like, cool, here is this box that I thought was just probably the best step-by-step tutorial for a card game or a board game I've ever seen, where it was like you and me are reading the pamphlets and getting it in real time of what we're doing, and then for them to take the hands off the wheel and be like, all right, now finish it. You know how to, I was like, that was great. Magic's so fucking cool.
How hard is it to collect every Ghostbusters card?
Oh, easy. No, I mean, that's
there's not that many.
It's not a collectible thing as much as just a buying thing.
How hard is it going to be to collect every Final Fantasy card? Is that
Oh,
going to be more
no,
challenging?
that won't be difficult. No, they make them smaller packs, like 8 to 12. Very nice cards.
Him join.
Oh, I mean, Final
Join.
Fantasy is going to get me. At least buying these things.
Yeah, I think the best thing I could say about Magic, like outside of even just how fucking deep and complicated this game is, which the more I play it, the more I'm starting to fall in love with the fact that you can play it the way that me and Greg played it during the tutorial section, where you learn the basic rules, right? But once you go deep down that well, you learn that this game actually has limitless possibilities. It's very crazy as far as like my playing with some of my friends, and like my friend Zachary, who's been into Magic forever. He's like, oh yeah, they're introducing like these cards that are like you can actually not that they're introducing it, but they have these cards they can like load in vehicles with people and attack with vehicles, or like you can saddle up other cards and do all this different shit, right? And I got the Fallout Commander deck that like has like cards that essentially you load up certain cards with all these different other cards. It's fucking crazy how this shit works.
People are calling out that Final Fantasy is going to be an entire set. So easily over
then
200
you're
cards
fucked.
representing Final Fantasy 1 through 16.
Fucked in a good way or like
I mean, fuck. I mean, that's cool. You got a whole binder.
that's what I want.
Like
That's
how
what I
expensive
want.
this is going to
Very
be.
great binder.
Who cares?
But yeah, I was gonna speak to the community aspect.
Cheaper than the suit.
Where like the thing that that has made me fall in love with it even more is like how much it has contributed to community for me. Where of course my friends, like some of my close friends, love Magic, so now like I'm playing with them, and during the break we were doing Magic mornings for a little bit there. Like I've been able to connect with other people who I know in my life who like love Magic, but like now it's like, oh shit, we got something to do now. Like we're gonna hang out and do this, and now I want to infect everybody like like a fucking disease. If Tim Geddes like gets the Final Fantasy card, like immediately I'm looking at Mike and I'm like, yo, book a stream, like we're playing Magic. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I got excited because I was like, man, I can play Magic the Gathering with the new Splinter Cell cards. And then I realized that I just completely made that up. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I just imagined that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I know they're doing like some Assassin's Creed thing, so I assumed that they were going to put Splinter Cell in there.
All the IPs. You didn't even look at Splinter Cell and you're
Oh,
like,
I would have been
they're
so
like,
excited.
this is
I
the
would have
one.
been in, bro. I would have been in.
Psychotic.
I want all the different Sam Fishers.
Our fifth winner of best card game of 2024 is Gwent question mark.
I put Gwent. I
Yeah.
just wanted to remind you of how great Gwent was.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Don't
Just a
forget,
reminder.
you know, as Barrett says, it's its own standalone thing. Still gets expansions. You should always be playing Gwent because, you know, The Witcher will return, and I hope that your Gwent game is strong. So don't forget about it.
I think
forget.
this. I think
It's a reminder.
I think I might have changed my answer to Pokemon TCG Pocket because I think I assumed Mike was gonna write in Pokemon TCG, and I saw Gwent and I was like, "There's no way
Somebody's got to stop this.
There's
Somebody's got to
there's
stop
no way
this.
he didn't just forget that Pokemon TCG Pocket came out this year."
Did you play any Gwent this past year, Mike?
No, but I thought about it.
He thought it
I
was
love
nice.
that.
It's always on his mind, Barrett.
Always
I mean,
think
Witcher
about it.
4? You know what I mean? Come on. Think about it.
Watch out.
It's coming back. Did you play the One Piece card game?
You know, I did spend a lot of money on the One Piece card game, and I
His
do want to
card
take
is
this
his
moment
phone.
to let you all know that like the One Piece card game is out there as well. And if you've been on a grand adventure, you should go and check it out. A lot of people love the game. I love the cards. I mean, I need that Nami card. I got a Boa Hancock card on my phone.
What's
It's a
happening
great
in your
time.
brain at any given moment? Like, what's going on?
I just want to make sure you know about it.
Remember Gwent?
I do want. I'll go for it, Barrett.
No, I'm just laughing. At
I do want to shout out what I thought was also going to be a given for this category. The Mind. That's another one that did take over
I would've put the
Kind of
Mind.
universe for a second.
God, I
So
love
shout
the
out to the
Mind.
Mind. Our next and second to last category here for the Smileys is Best Studio. The studio that earned MVP status in 2024. Our first winner is Team Asobi with 3 write-ins.
I mean, goddamn, dude. The magic of video games. I don't know if it's ever been that well captured.
1000%. Like this is one I think me and Roger had a special experience going to visit Team Asobi and seeing like the inner workings and how they approach things and seeing like all the sticky notes that they have of different
How
ideas.
small the team is.
How
right?
small the
70
team
people.
is. The kind of their philosophy of like wanting to retain the smallness, right? And like one of the things they mentioned during our interview was if they were to expand out into being a bigger team, they would still want to work on smaller projects and just like work on maybe more projects in that way. Like they like retaining that smallness and working quicker. And I think there's something special about that because that leads to a game like Astrobot, which isn't a God of War. It's not a Horizon. It's not a Last of Us, right? It is this very charming 3D platformer that is concise, but does everything you want a video game to do. And I think playing through Astrobot, you play it and you immediately go, man, I hope we see more games like this out of PlayStation, especially because like it adds such a level of charm and such a level of personality among like all the other juggernauts that they got over there.
Alien slime guy, best character for this year.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. You know, that's the one thing I'm like,
Next to
man,
the Deadlock guy.
we gotta take the what's his name from the God of War? Like he just went. Well, he was on the God of War dev team.
Roth.
Raph Crusade, yeah.
They got to bring Roth over to Astrobot, man.
Yeah.
Give some inspiration.
That sounds like overkill, Bless.
No, sounds just right. Okay. That'll fix any
They got-
problem that
every
Astrobot
issue.
has.
Give me a visionary. All right. Anybody else have anything to say about Team Asobi? This is a given.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
this was,
totally.
this was a given. I was going to put it on there, but this is not even my pick. Except for others.
I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about Astrobot and Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about it. I think everybody knows how great it is, especially for
just-
how much has been applauded.
I just want to shout out y'all's interview again, just because that brought up so much to light that of things that I didn't know about Asobi, of just like their headspace around designing, their headspace around purposely making this a smaller title and I don't know, keeping that team small and taking care of that team in a very particular way to make a game that feels so grandiose when talking about the best games this year, but is just so tight and kind of has like a very clear and small vision. That I just
Our second winner of Best Studio of 2024, the MVPs, we got Atlas. This was my write-in for this category. Atlas, I think, I did a stream recently where I did a power ranking of studios in 2024, just talking about, like, you know, which studios are bringing it right now. What are the best studios right now in this moment in 2024? And at the top two, I had From Software and Atlas, right? And I looked at it and I thought about it for a second. I moved Atlas to number one. The reason being, when you think about 2024 and what Atlas brought to the table, they started off this year with Persona 3 Reload, a remake to a game that so many people love, and a fantastic remake, right? One that, like, I finished over break and, like, you know, fell in love with, especially as I barreled toward the ending of it. They then followed that up mid-year with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Revengeance, or just Vengeance, yeah. And then wrapped up this year with Metaphor Fantasia.
don't forget Unicorn Overlord.
And they did Unicorn Overlord as well. Overlord as well, right? Like, they had a fantastic year that I think might go a little bit under the radar, just because, like, you know, Unicorn Overlord, I don't even think about it as Atlas, but it is Atlas, right? And
They
like,
published it, right? They didn't.
They published it.
And that's the thing. I think
Vanillaware made it.
I don't remember if I wrote in Atlas or not. If I did, I do take it back because I do think it's cheating a little bit because they're a publisher, whereas like all of these games that you just listed are developed by different studios.
It's
It's like saying Nintendo, you know?
Yeah, it's the weird thing of Nintendo or like Capcom, right? Of like Atlas games are also published by Sega, but maybe not all the games.
It's
but
weird.
It's a weird one, but I still look at them as like, oh, but you still are putting out some of the best games of the year, like multiple of the best games of the year. So even if I was just limiting this to Metaphor, still they get the right in for me, but I'm including Persona 3 in this conversation and Shin Megami Tensei in this conversation as well.
And Unicorn, like they just Atlas in general had a banger of a year. It was crazy.
Banger year.
I mean, I just want to say, I feel like you bring up From Software and Atlas. I feel like Metaphor is the Elden Ring for them. Of just like, yeah, you've had the Souls games before, but like and you've had the Persona games before, but like Metaphor and Fantasio hit on a different way where like, have the Persona games, correct me if I'm wrong,
Persona 5 took over the fucking world.
well, but was it nominated for Game of the Year?
Yes.
I think so,
okay,
yeah.
cool. I take it back then. I still
my
stand by what I
Elden
say.
Ring.
I think Metaphor is way bigger than
It's
Persona.
my Elden Ring.
Our third winner of Best Studio of 2024 is Studio RGG.
Yeah, this was me. They only released one game this year, which is very not
Unlike them.
They announced some
unlike
more.
them. Yeah, exactly. They had Infinite Wealth, but they also announced Virtual Fighter, which is fucking insane, and Project Century, and they also announced this year is Pirate Yakuza, the Majima game. So they are just fucking cooking, right? This is talk about a team that knows what they are. They understand that they don't have to be the cutting edge of graphics, right? They have a formula, and they are going to work towards serving a fan base of people, and they did that with Infinite Wealth, which is a leap forward in the Yakuza type games, and now they're feeding that fan base with Pirate Yakuza, but then also expanding into Virtual Fighter, right, which is being featured in Nvidia ads, right? So it's like, hell no, this is going to be our like foray into high graphical fidelity video games. So yeah, it's exciting, and like I think every single year I'm going to put RGG here. Like for me, like honestly, like
I love that.
Yeah, it's just like they are
keep
just
delivering, yeah.
They keep on delivering. and
Breaking
they're-
news, they just released another game.
Oh shit! Yeah.
They just have it.
and I am absolutely certain.
People were
that-
calling out they did Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble
Yes,
as well.
that is also true. Like they just have so many random fucking side quests, and these guys just know what they're doing. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by. I mean, Roger Damas already said. I think they're going to announce another Yakuza game by the end of this year, right? Like they are just
for sure.
constantly innovating, and you saw that at the Game Awards. So yeah, shout out to Studio RGG. They are really fucking incredible, and everyone should be looking at. If you want games that are like, oh, I don't want a game that comes out every 6 years and is $700 million, like these people are doing it, and they're focusing on the video games that people are actually buying. It's exciting.
Our fourth winner of Best Studio of 2024 is Ubisoft Montpellier.
RIP, man. Done the dirtiest. I absolutely hate this. I can't say it enough how bullshit it is that this team does not exist in the form that it did just a year ago, putting out a game like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But in addition to that, putting out things like Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins back in the day, like I think those games in particular back in the 13 to 15, wherever they landed, like there's not a bazillion 2D platformers coming out. And I feel like in the indie space there is, but like in terms of the bigger AAA Ubisoft level 2D platformers where there's a lot of love and care being put into them, that it's not just like, here's an IP people like, let's just fucking put something out, but actually be like, let's push this forward and not just be like, oh, well, Mario's better. Let's have a conversation of like, this game's different than Mario and succeeds in ways that are unique. And I look at those games and I talk about them as if they're some of the best platformers of all time, because they are. And for them to then, again, I don't need to be a broken record about Prince of Persia Lost Crown. I love it. I think they absolutely crushed it. This team is incredibly talented, and I hate what the industry has done to them.
Horrible.
Our fifth winner for Best Studio 2024 is Nomada Studio.
Yeah, this was my nomination. I never played Gris. Finally, there's an S, everybody.
Oh,
because it's Spanish for gray. And I never played it, but I know that it had a lot of great reviews. A lot of people enjoyed that video game, and then for them to follow that, very enjoyable experience up with Neva, and just show everybody, hey, like this is what we're doing. We're making games that are maybe not the longest things, but they are, short experiences that will respect your time, and you will. I think Neva's just like one of the most efficient games I've ever experienced, where it's just like we are going to quickly get to the things that matter, either gameplay or story beat wise. And yeah, Nomada showed me this year that like, oh, whatever they're going to keep on doing, it's kind of like on the same thing where I'm like, what's Ember Lab working on next? What the people that made Sifu, what's their next video of soccer?
FIFU.
Turns out FIFU. But yeah, I think Nomada Studio is definitely that studio this year for me that says, all right, keep an eye out for the next thing they're doing, because it's going to be a banger.
Congratulations to our Best Studio winners of 2024. Moving on to our final category of the 2024 Smileys. We got Player's Choice. This is a shout out to a game that might not get the love on the Game of the Year list, but you still want to give its flowers. Do want to remind people that us sitting here, and everybody here who voted, don't actually know what's going to end up on the Game of the Year list. This is more preemptively us giving a special shout out to a game that we want to make sure gets a shout out this year.
And specifically for me, even though I do know what's on the Game of the Year list, I sent in my votes for this like a month ago before any of y'all voted for Game of the Year.
So this category is a bit different from our other categories. This one I did include every single person's pick. We each, of course, wrote in one game, and I wanted to make sure to highlight them all because this is the Player's Choice.
Love it.
Starting with our first winner, which is Thank Goodness You're Here, which was written in by two different people. This was a Barrett write-in and a Blessing Adeoye Jr. write-in.
Good
Barrett,
picks,
do you want to
guys.
take it
Good
away?
Picks.
Yeah, I shouted this out when I wrote it in. When I wrote it in, just because I'm not sure, or at the time I wasn't sure. Again, it's weird to talk about this. If it was going to make the top 10 or not, and I just wanted to give it a lot of love, just because this game made me smile front to back in terms of just its humor and how like deadpan it's delivered, but how absurd a lot of that humor is. It does remind me a lot of like Flying Circus, but just also combining how cartoony and weird and very Adult Swim it is. I just adored it, and I appreciate that there's like a localization translation subtitle option to like help me kind of understand this very specific humor. And it's slapstick joy from front to back, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, this is one that I think I was the most scared of not getting its flowers this year when we like barreling toward the end of the year for end of the year content, when I'm like even formulating my top 10s and thinking about other people's top 10s and thinking about DICE and Game Awards and all these things. Like thinking about Thank Goodness You're Here, I'm like, man, people got to make sure to remember this game and remember how like good this one is, because it's everything that Barrett mentioned, right? But I think it's also just, this game has a charm that I hope to never see go away from indie games in the future. It is funny. It is complete as far as like its art style and voice acting, and like somebody made this, like a small team really put their hearts into this, and like you can feel it by how singular it is. A game like this would never be made on the AAA level. Like a game like this, like you need a few friends in a room to like be like, yo, this is what we think is funny, this is what works for us, and like we're gonna make something that we want to make. And like I think all that stuff shines through so well in this game. And also I want to give it just a shout out to like how technically well this is made on just a comedic angle where the jokes loop back on themselves so well. Like
Good.
it applies the rule of threes, right? Like right when you think a bit is over, that bit has another thing to add to it, and it is always funny.
Lady die.
Yeah, like there's like the fucking chimney like coming down the
Yeah,
chimney.
That is my favorite
yeah,
bit
yeah,
of the year. The way you break that man slowly over the course of the entire game, like that is God, it's so big.
There's like
It's so good.
I think one of the categories we thought about is like best moment, but it's the hard thing of we don't want to
Yeah.
spoil games on the show. But I'm sure if we did best moment, there are probably moments from this game
Oh,
that
yeah.
would enter the list.
And,
as
and
well.
like the one that Greg shared when they reviewed this game was what got me to play it. Of
Milk
just
shy no more.
yeah, Milk Shy No More is just like one of the most absurd, funniest things, and it also just another reason why this game was special to me is because I grew up loving '90s point and click adventure games, and even though this isn't point and click, it still had that vibe of just going around being like, where the fuck? What do I need to slap next?
slap,
Yeah,
slap,
you know, and just exploring around this very tiny area that feels so alive, and having like the entire town slowly change over the course of the game. I thought it was just so well done.
Our next choice for Player's Choice Award is Dungeons of Hinterberg. This was Piers Lily's write-in.
Nice,
for
a
Player's
great
Choice.
pick. I
Greg, you wanna
love
talk about it?
Dungeons. Yeah, everybody knows I talked about not maybe don't. That's a weird thing to say. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a game that I played and talked about on the show. How much I enjoyed it and how much it caught me off guard. If I remember my pick correctly, it's not this, but it's something similar. Where we had seen this at GDC at the beginning of the year, and the art style was like, "That's weird. I don't really know about it." And then I was in a place where I was between reviews, wanted to play something, looking for something new. Pop this on, and you find this woman who's a legal assistant, and she goes to this Hinterberg town that 10 years ago I think it is Dungeons appeared in, and now they've turned it into a tourist attraction where people come here and take on basically the bunny slopes all the way up to your K-12s or whatever, which would be a skiing thing, right? It's fun, it's easy to get into, it feels like a vacation playing it. I played it on my vacation when I was up in Quebec this year, and it felt like, oh cool, there are these little puzzles, these are the fun battles, I'm doing this, I'm finishing the day, and I come back to my hotel and choose how I spend my night. Who do I want to spend my time with? There's a whole town full of compatriots out there. You have these relationship levels. They lay it out so nicely of like when you are looking at the map, you can decide, oh, if I hang out with this person, I'll go to 2 stars and it will give me this buff, it will give me this benefit, you can really make your build kind of based on what you need to go do. Really fun game.
Our next choice for Player's Choice Award is Content Warning.
I put this one on because I love dumb, fun, awesome video games.
I didn't know
And
that about
Content
them.
Warning is a game I don't want you to forget about, from the chain together experiences that you'll have with your friends to this game where it takes over the zeitgeist for a month and we all get together and we play in a game like Lethal Company, where now we become YouTubers getting sent off to another planet and we have to go out and film content and try to get more views and get that higher and higher. This game is just fun.
fun.
There are moments in life where you're going to go to the Steam page and you're going to find just awesome, fun games that maybe a lot of people don't like, or maybe they put their nose up at. But you and the world will have so much fun playing, and that's what Content Warning was this year. It was
I
the
like
Lethal
this game.
Company of this year, where you will start laughing and having a great time with your friends. And man, oh man, once you get everything singing with in-game audio,
chat, yeah.
and you just start running around screaming and laughing, someone's holding the camera, someone's got a flashlight. This game is great. What a great game this
That
year.
should have been best innovation.
I was gonna
That's a
say
great
that.
call out because
Yeah.
the innovation of having somebody recording with a camcorder, and if they die, you have to go pick up that camera and in hopes to bring it back. But then once you're all back at the home base, you all collectively get together and you sit around the couch and you watch the thing you just recorded. And
That's great.
And
when
it's
the
edited
proc-
too, which is
a-
crazy.
And the procs chat, the way it all works to like hear, you have somebody like, hey, somebody might hear oh my fucking God. You just hear like the audio cut out, and it's a freaking blast.
Yeah, this was a great stream when I got to come in. I think maybe I did 2 of them with you, but I loved playing this game with y'all.
Such a fun time. That was a great choice, Mike.
Thank you. Don't forget about some good games out there, y'all.
Don't
The
forget about
suit was
Gwen.
worth it.
Shout out, Mike.
Shout out Gwen.
Hayes.
Our next winner for Player's Choice is Caravan Sandwich.
Hello, it's me, Greg. This is the one I put on here, which I do feel is very similar in tone and vibe to Dungeons of Hinterberg. The thing about this one, of course, this is one of my late games from last year, so you might have heard me talk about it in, November? Caravan Sandwich, even when I reviewed it on Gamescast, I forget what I gave it, but I was like, it's not like, I don't think it's like this amazing, incredible, yada, 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 when we're talking about game of the year, right? It shouldn't be on the short list by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a game that I do think into your, what the category description, right, of things is going to be overlooked. It's not going to get its flowers. This came out in September, I believe it was. I completely missed it. Finally saw a TikTok about it. And I was like, wait, this looks like such a Greg game. And it was such a Greg game. No combat. Explore at your own pace. Drive this van around. Figure out what happened in this world. Interact with a bunch of different people and characters and build this thing out. And take it at your own pace. It was a game I really didn't know I needed till I was playing it, where it was such a great palate cleanser, like we talk about. It was such a great stop in the middle of review season to be like, oh, here's just something that is scratching that itch. I go in, I go over there, I get the hook, I do the thing, I blah, 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 and I'm on my way. But then there are moments like you just saw where you walk up to plateaus, sit down, and the camera just spins for as long as you want to, right?
It's gorgeous.
It is about enjoying, what this game looks like, enjoying these characters, piecing together what happened to your sister and stuff like that. It's just a really serene, nice time.
Congratulations, Dungeons of Hinterberg.
Nope.
Caravan
Yeah,
Sandwich.
But congratulations to them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Congrats to them too.
Hilariously, Koki over there goes the Lois origin story because your character looks so much like Lois Griffin. There was, because you saw it there.
Oh, that's
there
funny.
was an amazing moment when I found out about this game and then started following it. I scrolled back and it wasn't too long after I found the game where it was literally the character art next to Lois Griffin and the creator's like, why? How the fuck? I've been making this game for 7 years. Why did no one tell me? Like, they were so into it. They had no idea they had just made Lois Griffin.
Our next winner for Player's Choice of 2024 is Witchfire.
Yeah, so I've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
The game rocks. Next one. Play it. Everybody play Witchfire. Support the devs. Buy it. If you love fast-paced, amazing roguelites, first-person shooter with great progression and a lot of cool difficulty and just really, really neat surprises and a lot of depth there. This is not an early access that you feel like you have to play in 2 years once it's all done. This feels like a very, very deep video game already. It rocks.
Our next choice for Player's Choice of 2024 is Sonic Cross Shadow Generations.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
Chili dogs.
Who would have done such
Hell
a thing?
yeah. It would be me, of course. My entire life I've been a Sonic fan through the ups, through the downs, and through the memes, through the quality, through every single thing here, there, and otherwise. I can't believe the era of Sonic we're in right now, whether it's the movies, whether it's the shows, whether it's the games. The last couple of years have been hitting hard. And it feels great to be rewarded for being a fan, again, through the good and the bad. And I think that Generations, when it came out a decade ago, was such a great celebration of all of that. And it kind of created one of the best Sonic games ever. Shadow Generations does the exact same thing. The level of love and care put into making every single level have as many set pieces for every moment that actually mattered from the previous games. So great, so hype. I feel like this is kind of, to me, the pinnacle of 3D Sonic so far. A perfect game? Absolutely not. Fun as hell? Yes.
Speak for yourself.
And our, I believe, final choice for Player's Choice Award is UFO 50.
Yeah, that is mine. Actually, I almost wrote Shadow Generation, so that was going to be my second one. But I was hoping that you would give me the layup. Yes, UFO 50 is really incredible. It's a game that I know we're not going to talk about on Game of the Year. I don't think anyone here else played it other than me. But it's a game that shouldn't hit for me, right? Like it's a game like it is based off the nostalgia of the NES period that I was not alive for, and I never really had any nostalgia for any of it. I started playing games during the PS2 generation. So I was like, okay, let me try it out. The idea of this is that it's 50 unique video games that are made by indie developers, and it tells a story of a alternate universe Nintendo competitor that over, I think, the course of 9 years releases 50 games. So you start from the first game in chronological order, and then you can go to the last game, and the graphics have improved. There's an intro sequence for UFO Soft, is the company in this universe, and it's really, really cool because, of course, I didn't finish all of these games. I only finished I think 2 or 3 of them, but I had a great time booting it up every single night and just playing a little bit, right? Like bouncing around and going in chronological order and finding that one right there. That game I finished, I forget the name of it, but because there's 50 games, but finding those ones that hit for me, the ones that don't hit for me, and it's just such a unique experience and one that you have to call out, right? This is definitely the player's choice for me when I saw this category, because it's so unique, it is so interesting, and it's such a tough sell sometimes, because there is so much and it's hard to pinpoint the specific one, because you start pinpointing, like that's I think Party House is the name of that game, which is like a card deck builder type thing with people at a party. It's like it becomes really weird and hard to nail down, but it's a great experience. And I was talking to Leanne's about this. I was like, I hope our kid one day naturally I can show them this game and then they have the fun that I had of just going through and finding the ones that they like and they didn't like, because it reminds me of those. It's a better version of those shitty knockoff games that I had, where it'd be like 1,001 and like 500 of them would be all Mario
Tennis.
ripoffs. Yeah, exactly. But this is all handmade, really interesting stuff here, and
This is Derek Yu, right?
yes,
Creator of
Derek,
Spelunky?
yeah. Which I don't know how it breaks down in terms of who developed what
Right.
and who was doing what, but yeah, this is it's Moss Mouth Productions, but it's really interesting and it's a really cool experience. So yeah, everyone check it out and support it, because it's a once in a lifetime type of video game.
Congratulations to our Players' Choice winners. And congratulations to all of our winners throughout the Smileys 2024. I do want to shout out how just the variety of games that we play. I know this is natural because now we have so many people on our team. When I say so many, 11, but still enough so that we all of our different, I think, tastes get to shine. And as I go through all these games, I'm like, damn, we really got all of our bases covered, right? I think the only thing left for us to do is to play Xenoblade Chronicles, and we pretty much conquered it.
Nick's
Talk
on
about
it, right?
Sonic.
Yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, congratulations, and also thank you guys for such a great Smileys.
Thank you, Blessing.
Thank you, Blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
Great job, everyone.
Again, tune in this Monday for our Game of the Year Top 10. That's where we're going to go through and talk about all of our best games of the year and crown our actual Game of the Year winner for 2024.
Ooh.
And then
Oh, tease there,
this
huh?
is sick. And throughout next week, we're going to be talking about our top 10s of the year individually as well. So you don't want to miss the content for next week. Greg, is there anything I'm missing out on as far as promotion? Is
4
that everything?
p.m. Wednesday. That's the day. 4 p.m.
Good night,
Wednesday. There's a
everybody.
special games cast. I can't tell you about yet.
Also this Saturday for Patreon stuff, right?
Right?
Right.
For the giveaways, 9 a.m. You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny and get gifted a Kinda Funny membership. Get ready ahead of time, of course. Go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Click join for free so you have a Patreon account, and then the post will go up at 9 a.m. You click on the link. If you're fastest fingers, you can get yourself a Kinda Funny membership to enjoy on behalf of all the other Kinda Funny fans who are supporting us. Remember, it's not too late to support us. You can buy patreon.com/kindafunny memberships. Gift them. They give you a link. You send it to support@kindafunny.com. We put it into the post for 9 a.m. Saturday.
Before we get out of here, I do want to shout out the rest of the super chats we got in. Sorts by first name wrote in and says, "If I could have best VR surprise specifically, it would be Maestro, a rhythm game where you are the conductor of an orchestra. Highly
Gary
recommend."
talks about this one a lot. Gary wanted me to play
That
this.
sounds really cool.
So Gary, get out of my house.
How'd you get in here?
It's 2 a.m.
Bread Boy writes in and says, "I wish more of y'all played through Silent Hill 2, and Roger didn't forget about it."
Shouldn't have forgot about that one. My bad.
Because I think it would have fit right into biggest surprise and best
They
story.
should have put remake in the title, then I wouldn't have
Yeah,
forgot about it. I thought it was a
sorry.
new game. Forgot about it.
Bread Boy says it is their game of the year 2024 by far, personally.
Yeah.
Joshua Burns writes in and says, "If you guys ever want to do vintage Pokemon or Magic Box opening, DM me. I'm a high-end collectible broker and
Whoa.
can get you guys anything."
I
Whoa,
love that.
anything.
Shit.
Man, give me some
That
fossil sets.
cannot
give me
be
a
legal.
Sounds
rocket.
dangerous.
Yeah, that sounds super dangerous.
Mike, return your jacket and take that money and send it to this man.
Omega Buster writes in and says, "The One Piece TCG is about the friends we made." Demon Hacker writes in and says, "Bluebird equals best studio for beating the expectations."
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah,
Yeah,
Silent
that's a
Hill 2
really
is the
good
biggest
call.
blow up for
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
Total X Garbage writes in and says, "Hey Barrett, love your shirt. Where'd you get it?"
Great question. Great question.
He's gatekeeping. I know gatekeeping.
No,
does
I
it.
have no idea. I don't remember where I buy things.
Sort by first name says, "Yes, Raj, repping RGG." Christopher Burnett writes in and says, "This is for Snowbike Mike to give him some hope. Rockstar announced in the past release dates for GTA 4, LA Noire, Max Payne 3, and GTA 4 in January. They're removing one post a day, counting down to January 21st. Think about that,
Ooh.
Mike.
Rostradamus.
Think
I
about it.
love that.
And then
Just to follow up on the shirt thing, Tim knows this. I used to buy shirts just on Instagram algorithm all the fucking time. Think I'm writing that shit down where I bought this?
Yeah, everybody, just say into your phone,
Absolutely
Barrett shirt, It'll pop
He'll
up.
know.
And then Christopher Burnett
Jake Jarmel.
gives us more money to finish his super chat because that was only the first half.
Oh, wow.
He then continues, my prediction is that Rockstar announces on the 14th that the second trailer drops on January 21st with the release date of either September 16th or October 28th and will score 97 on Jesus.
I love this. I love it, dude.
He's from the
Let's go.
future.
Let's
He's from the
go.
future.
Thank you
a
for that,
competitor.
Christopher Burnett. Of course, this has been the Kind of Funny Games Cast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube, or now Apple Podcast or Spotify to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Catch today's KFGD on YouTube or podcast services, and know that until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.